across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hey, very good afternoon to you. Just gone 4 o'clock. We are live across the United Kingdom. Thank you to Ian Collins. The Housewives' Choice is back tomorrow between 1 and 4, but we're on with Drive. We're up for this. We've already made 2 shows already today. We've been right at it, we have. Listen, welcome along. A-team are in the house. Whatever you want to talk about, I'll give you a few pointers in a tick. Jodie is here in a new top that looks like a cushion. Very cuddly. 0344 499 1000. Only number you need. 0344 499 1000. Ryan, who I rang up this morning, and he went, oh, and I went, Ryan, we're going to need to change this. We need to sound more excited and more up for life. So now every time he sees me, he goes, hello, Jezza. That's as exciting as he gets. You can send a voice note. 0344 499 1000. Amy smiles the whole time. It's a wind problem. Titus is in the building, pushing the buttons. Blame him if it goes wrong. Text to 87222. Start, please, your message with the word talk. I don't know where to start because, frankly, we lurch from disaster to disaster in this country. Monday, Starmer humiliated internationally by Donald Trump. That went viral. Today, our brand new Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, a woman who says that, she's behind this. Personally, if you want me to be honest, I think she's on political manoeuvres. I think her language up to today is quite strong about we need to do this, all the sorts of things that we've been talking about in terms of immigration. I think she eyes a possibility of taking over from Starmer. That's just my thought. But today, this is what she said. Britain is not controlling its borders. I don't mean to be rude. I don't mean to be rude, but this was a fact 5 years ago. I'm sick and tired of people telling me we can't control our borders, that what is it, something like 60,000 people have come in since Keir Starmer became Prime Minister 15 months ago. I want a political party or somebody to tell me what they're going to do to stop this infiltration of unvetted, illegal people coming into our country, ripping off the care system, the benefit system, the NHS, to the detriment of the indigenous population. And I say it every day, and people go, yeah, you're right, Jez, we need somebody to do that. It doesn't happen. Shabana Mahmood, not interested in words. What are you going to do about it? Massive poll in the newspaper today. I don't know if you saw this. An astonishing poll that said that Nigel Farage today, if there was an election, would storm to the biggest landslide in modern British political history. The poll showed, it was a mega poll, that Reform today would get 445 seats. Labour would drop to a mere 73. The Tories would be wiped out to the point of 7 seats. A whopping 13 cabinet ministers would lose their seats, including Rachel Reeves, damn. Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper, oh, how sad. Shabana Mahmood, oh, you're not going to be Prime Minister then. And Energy Secretary Ed Miliband, more about that idiot. Farage has consistently been leading the opinion polls with a 10-point lead over Labour. It's going into the stratosphere. As I said to Ian Collins then, the next point is, over the next 3 years and 8 months, what are Reform going to do to repel the establishment? What are they going to do if people join together? We'll find out more from their chairman, Dr. David Bull, on the way. I don't know if you saw the front page of The Sun. Have you got the front page of The Sun to put up today? Extraordinary article. Illegal migrants awaiting deportation from Britain. Have you got the article or not? Are getting free arts and craft classes. There's 2 detention centres. They're going to have IT tutorials and English lessons. This is all at Gatwick Airport, 2 places. £260 million paid to Serco, who I thought was supposed to just, get prisoners. No. 260 million people to make sure, clever headline, what a waste of money, to make sure that illegal migrants waiting to be deported, right, they have a welfare person to make sure they're OK. What about the people of the United Kingdom who are struggling, for Christ's sake? I just do not understand it. And the other story that is just going to send me through the roof, Ed Miliband. He's a numpty. He's approved the UK's largest solar farm to date, covering nearly 2,000 football pitches worth of prime farmland. The Energy Secretary, it's Tilbridge Solar Farm near Gainsborough in Lincolnshire on Tuesday. Once operational, the site will generate enough renewable energy for up to 300,000 homes when the sun's shining, which it doesn't very often. How much is that going to cost? How is a madman like him in charge of anything? Great British Energy, still the questions get asked. What is Great British Energy? It doesn't have any staff and it doesn't have an office. It's got a man leading it called Jürgen. He earns 250... Who is Jürgen? What is Great British Energy? I feel like I'm going to implode before we even start today, so I'm going to calm it down, because Jodie looks like she's... It's not Jurgen Klopp, that's ridiculous. Come on. Jodie is going to bring me my medication in the next half an hour. 0344 499 1000. Get your calls in, get your texts in, get yourself involved. We say a very good afternoon. This man is a legendary broadcaster, a good friend of the chairman of Reform UK. Dr David Bull, how are we?
Good afternoon, Jeremy. As you can see, I'm in a pub garden. I'm in Surrey. I'm at the Black Prince. By the way, Amy, who's working behind the bar, massive fan of yours. So I said I would say hello, and hopefully you'll say hello back.
Hello, Amy. And can I just credit this man? You think you've got a difficult job, anybody, right? This man's back... I mean, you have been at it 24 hours a day for the last few months and for the next 3 years and 9 months, and you've stopped off so you can do this, and we're really grateful.
It's worse than that, actually, because I'm on my chairman's tour, and actually I completely changed the schedule so that I could get here to Surrey earlier to be in the pub garden. I'm sitting with a table with a suitcase on it, with a laptop on it, so that I could contribute to your amazing drive time show.
Do you know what's amazing about that is you'll probably be the chairman of the next government, and you're sat there in a pub garden. We love you. Can I just warn you, the police could come there and arrest you. You've got a Union Jack flag on your lapel. Are you worried about that?
No, not at all. That's the whole point, right? So last week we were polling, I think when we spoke, we were polling pretty much across the country at 33%. Now, according to that MRP, which you just read out, which is an extraordinary poll, and MRP is a multi-regression poll, so it's a really big poll, we're polling at 36%. You read out those numbers right. So if there's a general election today, we would win 445 seats. As you say, Labour down to 73 seats. Tories pretty much wiped out, down to 7 seats. This would be extraordinary. It would actually be the biggest overturn, the biggest parliamentary majority in modern political history. So we think the Tories at this rate will be wiped out. Labour would face the worst results since 1931. These are historic times. And I'm not surprised, because pretty much everything you say is right. It doesn't matter where I go in the country. I was in Newcastle last week. There in Newcastle, we're not polling at 36%. In Newcastle, we're polling at 38%. So it doesn't really matter where I go in the country. People are sick of this. They're sick and tired of the two-party system. They want change. They want to see a government that actually does something, whether it's about immigration, the cost of living. I mean, that Ed Miliband thing and paving over prime agricultural land with solar panels is utterly ridiculous, and we will fight it.
Richard Tice describes net as stupid, net stupid zero. I've never understood, and I suppose it will put me on a level with you guys in Reform, I make no apology for that on this particular issue, is that we seem to have situations in this country where pensioners aren't having their houses warmed up. People can't get operations. People are being left... veterans on the streets. All the stuff that genuinely should matter. Waspy women, the farming community being destroyed. And yet this idiot Miliband thinks it's a good idea to look however many hundreds of years in the distance and bankrupt still further a country that has no money. And I always want to say to Ed Miliband, David, I always want to say, mate, what about what's happening right now? We have a Prime Minister who ran off to the rest of the world and has been humiliated. It should be here and now. And when you say, I say it every day, indigenous population, the left go, oh, you're racist, that's wrong. It's not wrong. What about the people who have paid in for the very basic things they should get in return, who are missing out because of mad, crazy stuff like Ed Miliband's doing?
Well, I agree, absolutely. And I think, and I said this last week to you, for me, this is all about fairness, and people in this country just feel everything is not fair. And that pretty much goes across the board. The government has no ideology, no strategy. It really doesn't know what it stands for. And so they're launching war on pretty much every sector, you know, whether it's the farmers, whether it's actually upsetting everyone who sends their kids to private school, who actually work hard to do that. You're seeing the employer national insurance contributions. You know, the government stupidly thought they would actually raise more tax revenue. What has happened? Small businesses can't actually afford to employ anyone. So they're not employing people because of those tax rates being so high. So again, this is because the government doesn't actually know what it's doing. And Rachel Reeves is about to break her rules once again. Remember, she said she wasn't going to increase income tax, national insurance or VAT. She has said pretty candidly, I think this morning, that she will do that because, of course, her economics make no sense at all. What I'd like to see party is someone as Chancellor who actually knows what they're doing.
I find it astonishing that anybody, and listen, I know it was only 34% or something of the population, maybe less than that voted for Labour, and we believe, I think all of us, that he didn't win the election, Starmer. The Tories had stopped being listened to, and, you know, it's a shame reform was not in its infancy, but everything that comes out of their mouths, we're not going to raise council tax. You have raised council tax. We're not going to destroy businesses, small businesses. We're going to talk about growth. They talked about growth for 2 years and then put their NI on small businesses, which has absolutely destroyed so many. We're going to lower your energy bills. Now your energy bills have gone through the roof because of this madness about net zero. Today, the new Home Secretary, I mean, talk about words meaning nothing. Britain, she's warned today, David, that Britain's failure to control its borders is eroding trust in politicians and the credibility of the state. Are these people stupid? Do they not think that your average Briton knows that? If you look at that poll today, one of the biggest things in people's minds, whatever the left tell you, is immigration and the impact on the state.
And I actually think this election is pretty much all about immigration, and that goes across the board, whether it's about whether you can find a GP, whether you can get on the housing ladder, all the stuff that we talk about the whole time. Wait, there's one more thing that's going to go on. You mark my words. The government is going to try and pin all of this on Brexit. And I think that is going to backfire spectacularly, because they seem to have forgotten that actually the majority of people in this country voted for Brexit. We haven't had a full and proper, full-fat Brexit, and that is what people want to see in this country. And so the government, once again, clutching at straws, deciding to go after the Brexiteers, is going to end in tears for the Labour Party.
One of the things that I get asked about a lot, and I'm not putting you on the spot, I want you to say this. There was a bit of criticism of Nigel last week. Is Reform simply going to be a party that only talks about immigration? What about the economy? And of course, when you're doing well, that's what happens. And they're going to come. I said it in the introduction. They're going to come for you. They're going to say you're not experienced. They're going to come for you and say you haven't got people who have run governments. I've got an answer for that, but I'll let you do it, because look at the shower we've had. I actually think a bunch of businessmen and women who've never been in politics couldn't do any worse at all. But I presume at this moment, in terms of the party evolving, you are getting policy ideas together, but you're not going to put them out 100%. There until they're costed and sorted through, right?
Well, that's absolutely right. Of course, what we're giving the public is a sense of direction, and at least our policies are cogent and they hang together, and there is a reason and a methodology behind it. So what we're now doing behind the scenes is we've got policy working groups which are actually putting the sort of finishing details to all of those policies, working them through. So let's take health. I mentioned this last week. Obviously, as my background as a medic, I've got amazing doctors and nurses and pharmacists and people who've run hospitals coming together saying the NHS is broken, we need to fix it, this is how we do it, and then that will then feed into the head of policy. But also that's why Danny Kruger coming across is really important, because he is preparing us for government. So we're not going to announce all of these policy ideas immediately, because we saw from Kemi Badenoch's speech, everything that she announced that I thought was quite good, I realised that actually it was our policy.
Really interesting comment here from David. He says, please ask the good doctor how many candidates he has at this moment in place, because I, like many others, David Hubbard, believe there could well be a snap election, because he believes that the Labour Party quite possibly might throw Starmer under the bus, like I do.
I would agree. I would agree totally. Just to give you an idea, and I can't go into the exact details, but we need to find 5,000 candidates, and that means pretty much I have to find 9,000 to fully vet them to ensure that we get those 5,000 candidates. Now, in terms of the parliamentary candidates, we haven't actually opened that list, but we are about to do so. And I spoke to Nigel about this. We also believe that election is coming much sooner than we think. And of course, I think we saw today in the House of Commons, Starmer under enormous pressure. I have to say, I thought Kemi Badenoch was on her best form that I have ever seen her on this afternoon. I think Starmer's under serious pressure.
Can I play a clip of Starmer, because I've got this is about the Chinese crisis for people just tuning in. Basically, to cut a long story short, there are two people found to have been spying for China within the House of Commons, Christopher Cash and I think Cash and Christopher, I don't know, Christopher Berry. This was all ready to go to the Director of Public Prosecutions. The Tories lost the election. The CPS, the very body that our Prime Minister ran as a left-wing human rights lawyer, are accusing the government of not coming through with the relevant information, and they're saying, you are hampering this. To Starmer, that must be like the worst thing said. Today, he literally stood up and said, I'm going to publish it. I'm going to play the clip. Just to have a watch at what Starmer was forced to say today.
On Monday, the Security Minister repeatedly told the House that ministers did not take decisions, that it was the Deputy National Security Advisor who had full freedom. Is the government seriously saying that only one man, the Deputy National Security Advisor, had anything to do with this failure? Is he seriously saying that the Deputy did not discuss with the National Security Advisor, did not discuss with the Home Secretary or with anyone in Downing Street? Is the Prime Minister seriously saying that?
Yes.
Brilliant. I only got one word from him, but there's the basis, David, right? You know what it's like when clips happen. I think this is going to come back to haunt him, because if he makes the pledge, which he did later, that he will publish all that information, right, there is no doubt that even the Labour Party know that that information is not going to provide what he has said it provides. I would suggest this, and I could be wrong. Maybe my brain is sometimes too conspiratorial. I think there are figures in the Labour Party who have worked out he's already an absolute liability. And if he is surrounded by all these shady creatures like Jonathan Poole or whatever he now calls himself and other people, maybe they've given this stuff information, because how can he come back from that? He's lied.
I think that's right. We need to see what he actually releases, but I think Starmer's in big trouble over this, and I think you can see that from Kemi Badenoch continuing to press him on that point. The fact is, the question now for Labour is, what does it do about it? And it's much harder for Labour to get rid of their leader than it is for the Tories, who are very good at regicide, as you know. So the question is, what happens there? Also, just in terms of the other polling, what we need to look at is what happens to Corbyn et al., for example, and also the rise of the Green Party with Zach Polanski, because that is going to fracture that Labour vote. So the question is, what does that do to the left-wing vote? What does it do to the vote that is currently coming to us? But also, just in terms of who is voting for us, 50% of those people who voted Labour at the last election are now voting for us.
Yeah.
So
people always make it out about the Tories, but there is a seismic shift. Do you worry, as the chairman of Reform? Many people say this to me. What about, you know, Mad Polanski, the breast grower, as I've decided to call him? Polanski gets with Corbyn, gets with... Do you imagine that the establishment, both political parties and the establishment, will be so freaked out and scared of Reform's meteoric rise that they will do whatever it takes to stop Nigel Farage getting into number 10? Does that concern you?
Yes, of course it does. I mean, I think I keep saying you need to play the ball and not the man. And we're seeing that obviously we're being targeted the whole time. One of the things that I do as I go around the country is to say to people who've never had political experience, look, you need to stand, you need to think about whether you would actually, you know, stand for this country. And of course, part of me is also reticent because I know actually what is going to get thrown at them. We've seen councillors, very young councillors as well, who are doing a great job, having all sorts of accusations thrown at them. And I was on the phone to one of them this morning who I think is having a really torrid time, actually. And that shouldn't be the case when you're in public office, I think.
No, I agree. And look what happened. I mean, the case the other day with Nigel, I mean, I love your opinion on this, by the way, that scrote that got 5 years. I don't understand how in this country, and I'd love Reform to grab this bull by the horns, you get given 5 years, you serve 2.5, soon to be less after the sentencing bill next week. You should serve the cabinet. Talking to Sarah yesterday, Sarah Poachin, you should serve the time you're given. But that bloke should be deported in a heartbeat, shouldn't he?
Of course he should.
Under a Reform government, he's gone, hasn't he?
Absolutely right. And of course, you see, the thing is actually all of these fingers point back at Keir Starmer. If you remember, he said Nigel Farage wasn't patriotic. He said that Reform UK, anyone who supports Reform UK, anyone who is a member of Reform UK is racist. And I would point that back at the Prime Minister saying, you are stirring up this racial hatred and incitement. And so what you are doing is despicable, it's deplorable, it's unacceptable. And actually, I think it's unbecoming of a Prime Minister.
It's quite interesting. We like to have we've talked about, you know, a Home Secretary that says we've lost our borders. We've talked about this amazing poll that says Reform are going to sweep to power. We've talked about how we're giving migrants. I mean, you've had that. Have we done that story? My brain's. You know, the furious migrants facing deportation are given luxuries, incling art classes.
I mean, the whole thing's ridiculous.
260 million quid front of the Sun this morning. How do you think people swallow that?
But that's the whole point, isn't it? That actually we're treating illegal migrants better than people who are indigenous, to use your word, who live in this country, grew up in this country, where actually they can't get a house, where our army veterans aren't looked after properly. The whole point, if you come here illegally, we will detain you and we will deport you. And if you come here illegally, you will not be able to claim asylum in this country. And once you are deported, if you come back, that is a criminal offence, and therefore you will serve time in His Majesty's pleasure. But to do that, we have to leave the European Convention on Human Rights, and we have to tear up the Human Rights Act and replace it with the British Bill of Rights. This is actually going back to fairness and putting British people first.
I'd like to finish in a slightly light-hearted way, because I was at the in-laws last night. And I came down this morning to find the mother-in-law doing some ironing and watching Mike Graham, and she turned to me, she said, "I didn't realise that Starmer's got an illness." Have we got the clip? According to Mike Graham, and this has been checked, by the way, Keir Starmer is suffering from mythomania. Have a little watch, David.
From behind the glass has come up with an even better definition, I think, where apparently it's called mythomania. Compulsive lying, a persistent and uncontrollable urge to lie, going beyond occasional fibbing or social lies. Lying often involves creating intricate and dramatic, sometimes unbelievable tales about one's past achievements or experiences. Like, for example, saying, we worked very well behind the scenes to get the peace deal done. So Keir Starmer suffers from mythomania. We've finally solved the problem.
David Bull, chairman of Reform. What do you think? Mythomania? Well, it's all a myth. I mean, it's true, man. It's true.
Well, it is. I think Keir Starmer is writing his own history, isn't he? The fact is that he sort of throws away facts and decides that these are the new facts. And then I think he's actually, it's quite interesting, this. The more you repeat those facts that aren't true, the more you believe them. And I think he actually believes what he is now saying.
You said something in the middle that I completely concur with, which you remember the 100 days and Sue Gray, and she'd gone before the 100 days were up. I can't believe a party that knew it was coming to power for 2 years, and I'll bring it back to Reform to finish, were so unprepared. The first couple of disasters, I thought that's teething problems. I mean, whether it's Mandelson, whether it's Angela Rayner, whether it's Lord Ali, whether it's the Chinese spy, whether it's being humiliated by Starmer, it's a daily soap opera. And I think this country is calling out, crying out for a statesman or woman, I'll say that, to just put this country first, put its people first. And I think that's why Reform resonates right now. But you have a job, as you admit, on your hands to fill in the gaps and prove to the doubters, because I hear this all the time. Oh, it's just headlines. Reform just rush around the place saying there's problems with migrants. I think, would it be fair from your point of view to say that those people are underestimating the strength and the growing presence of Reform?
I think it is, actually. I'm going around the country talking to all our councillors. We've got over 900 councillors around the country. We're running councils. We're actually doing a really good job locally. And the fact is that we have to prove that we're really good at local government to actually ensure that we can then run the country. But Nigel is very clear about this. When Labour came into power, they had no policies, remember? And, of course, then we saw the U-turns over the winter. Winter fuel allowance, for example, the benefits bill, the grooming gangs. We saw all those U-turns. What we're doing is we are getting ready for government to make those changes in the first 100 days, and we will be very clear about that. And I actually think it's time that we had a massive change in this country. It's time that actually people, what I hate more than anything is the negative voting, saying, oh, it's not worth voting for that party because they will never get in. Actually, use your vote wisely. People fought and died for you to have that vote. Vote wisely and make sure you make the right decision.
May, it's such a pleasure to come back home soon. Rushing around the country. Where are you off to today? Surrey. What's next?
I'm in Surrey. Tomorrow I'm in Wales.
Nice. Great to have you on, and thank you. The chairman of Reform, who sat in a pub garden in Surrey with his laptop on his suitcase, and Amy in the bar, give him a free drink, he needs one. Dr. David Bull, thank you very much indeed. 4:25, we're live across the UK. It's Wednesday on Talk, Drive Time, the home of free speech and common sense. So, what gets you go? Ed Miliband approving covering prime farmland with 2,000 football pitches worth of solar panels, which, and I quote, will only provide electricity, renewable, yawn, to 300,000 homes that haven't been built yet. That's if it's sunny. It'll probably be peeing down with rain. Our new Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, stands up today and says, I think Britain's lost control of its borders. No, what's it, Sherlock? That took you a while to work out, didn't it? That poll today, you might want to talk about it. There was a general election today, whatever the left tell you. Reform would be returned with the biggest landslide in British political history. And our old favourite on this show and this station, migration, front the sun today, whilst they're waiting to be deported because they've got in illegally and taken advantage of our country. Thousands of pounds worth of free arts and craft classes, IT tutorials, English lessons, dance classes, swimming stuff, all given to deported, well, soon-to-be deported migrants. And there's you in a traffic jam, having done 9 hours and you can't afford a curry tonight. Who looks the idiot now? Talk Drive.
a group of women made a citizen's arrest. The person that they arrested was a man by the name of Mark Thurston, who is CEO of Anglian Water. These women, who are all part of this organisation called Citizens Arrest, surrounded him, held hands so that he couldn't escape. They're accusing him of up to 3 counts of public nuisance, focusing on environmental damage and illegal sewage spills, which pose a risk to the public's access to clean water, their failure to maintain equipment which leads to the spills, and mismanagement of funds following bill increases, and Thurston's bonus ban.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
4:30, we're live across the United Kingdom. Jenny's in Bicester. Hello, Jen. She says, this whole Chinese spy thing, which can be seen as quite confusing, but it's not. It's really simple. 2 blokes, there was enough evidence to prove that Christopher Berry and Christopher Cash had in fact spied for the Chinese government whilst working inside the House of Commons, our seat of democracy. The last government, and I didn't have much credit for them, had a whole package of information, reports, statements and witness statements that was going to the Crown Prosecution Service. The election came, they were voted out. It was then down to Labour. The CPS this week saying, well, this government won't get involved. Apparently this government's more interested in having a deal trade-wise with China and doesn't want to upset China. Well, so you allow spying, but not that. So Starmer's saying, no, it wasn't like that. They have literally hung out to dry or created the role of Deputy National Security Advisor to Jonathan Powell, one of their cronies. They're trying to have us believe that this guy acted alone and made the decision on his own, a civil servant, not to give the evidence to the CPS without talking to his boss, Jonathan Powell, or anybody in the cabinet, or anybody in number 10, or even the Prime Minister. And it is important to point this out, says Jenny in Bicester, and she's right. The Prime Minister stood up at Question Time today, Questions, and said to Kemi Badenoch, and she was on fire, I promise we will publish the witness statements about the Chinese spy case in due course. Now, many of the critics of Keir Starmer say that he gets told what to say. I would respectfully suggest he's been told to say that, and they know he's going to drop himself in an almighty mess. Because once he does publish those, they will undoubtedly show that more than just the man that's a civil servant knew what was going on. He just gets himself in knots, man. Mythomania. The ability to lie the whole time. That's what Mike Graham says he's got. You know, MG is not often wrong. Let's go to, is it Stansted? Nice. Gav, you're on Tour Drive. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm very well, man. How are you?
Not bad for a balding 60-year-old has-been. You got 2 minutes.
You're looking well on it, man. You're looking well.
Yes, well, can't leave the face.
Well, you know, that's the Botox.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's all right, man. Yeah, I was listening while I was on hold. The whole China thing confuses me because there seems to be a problem with the solar panels and the infrastructure and stuff like that with our dealings with the Chinese.
Well, I just see there's everything. I haven't even. You've now alighted something else that I forgot.
And everything you're touching is from China. So what's the problem with the solar panels? Anyway, that's not.
Well, no, the solar panel deal. This is the other thing we should say. Are made by. It's the slave trade. So where? Hold on a minute.
Your strides are made from China.
Yeah.
Your glasses are made from China.
Yeah.
So what's the problem with solar panels?
Well,
They're all coming from the same place, man. If there's slave labour in solar panels, where do you think your strides, your socks, your computers come from?
I haven't got any socks on. How would you describe Keir Starmer's premiership?
Forensic, and that doesn't mean it's good. It's forensic. But yeah, the reason I called, what are you going to do if, and I think when, Reform lose?
You think they're going to lose?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I think that because apart from you and the CBeebies channel, whatever that news channel is, everybody else has, all the adults have grown up. We've sussed it, mate.
All of those have grown up with what?
All the grown-ups have sussed it. It's just a It's not even a red herring. It's an orange herring. It's never going to fly. And Farage is just a one-trick pony. He's got no... You keep saying he's got policies. What policies? Name one policy he's got.
What, reform?
Apart from immigration.
Sure, listen.
What else has he got?
I just said today... What?
What else has he got apart from immigration?
As you heard me just ask David Bull, I said that exact same point, and he pointed out, as he said...
and you both dodged it.
I'm not dodging it.
What do you got? All right, give me 3 policies apart from immigration for
3 policies that Reform believe right now are important.
Yes, please, Jeremy.
Well, he said he'd lower tax.
Yeah, right, so that's just a platitude. All right, next one.
But hold on a second.
Every political party says they'll lower taxes. That's just standard.
Shall I tell you why Farage works? And I'm not saying...
because he's a sleazy liar.
Sorry?
That's why he works.
What did you say?
He's a sleazy liar. That's why he works.
Who's a sleazy liar?
Farage.
Why?
Because he lies and he's sleazy.
Well, now, hold on a second. We'll turn the tables. Tell me what he's lied about.
Everything.
Well, you know you're doing what you accused me of, and I gave you a thing about tax, and you said everybody says that.
I give you examples. All right, about this thing about he went on a bus and he didn't hear a single English voice. Cobblers. Number 2, he's married. Oh, actually, no, he was married to a German lady. He's now, he's got a French girlfriend.
Yeah?
So what's all this stuff about, we've got to get them all out of here, when he's bringing them all in here anyway?
Did he say he wanted to get them out of here? Let me ask you a question, if you let me get this out, right?
Yeah,
so when people who have a different view, like you, and I'm delighted that you've rung, think that the words...
Yeah, it's all cool.
When people... Let me speak. When people like you say that Reform is a one-trick pony, and I'll take that point, I take it and I put it to David Bull, right? What I will ask you is this. Do you believe that the things that he say do not resonate with people, however unpalatable it might be to certain sections of this country, and I've used the example every day, Trump is as well in America. Do you not think that so much of what he says is right? Do you think it's acceptable that scrote yesterday who threatened to kill Nigel Farage will serve 5 years in jail and be out? I haven't finished speaking and will be out after 2 years. Are you happy with what's happening to... What?
You're changing the point deliberately.
I'm not changing any point.
Yes, you are.
Are you happy with the country you've got?
That's not my question.
Are you happy with the country you've got?
I'm not happy with the country that Reform would create, because you had a spokesman for Reform earlier.
You've just done it again. Are you happy with the country you've got?
Yes.
You are?
Yes.
So you're happy for old people to live in cold homes, yes?
Rhetoric, mate. That's just rhetoric. That's not how it is.
So do you know any old people who have had their heating allowance taken or not?
Reform.
Do you know any veterans who live on the streets? Do you know any veterans?
People frightened. It's a textbook, mate. You don't get anywhere.
I don't think that any political party will get the traction that Reform is getting unless people by their millions in this country are hacked off with the lies that have been told. And do you know what you are? You are the reason this country's on its arse. Do one.
No, it's not, pal.
Bye. Push the button.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
I like the fact that this country is full of free speech. Welcome to Gav. Glad he was able to get on. I should have realised when he said only you and CBeebies. I'll put this to you. He's entitled to his opinion. Debbie says he's Gav on psychedelics. I don't know. David Worthing says Cav is the most deluded caller I've heard in ages. Maybe mad cow disease is back. But the point that Gav made is perhaps a good one, which is there anything else that Reform have to offer by immigration, which is what you heard me ask Dr. David Bull. I happen to believe that what Reform have right now is the ear of the British public, but there are gaps to fill in. What did you make of Gav the caller? 0344 499 1000. Let's go to the political editor of The Sun, a man of brilliant political aptitude. Jack Elsom, good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon, Jeremy. Yeah, spot on as always.
Oh, you're very serious this afternoon, Jack. What's it?
No, I'm not serious at all. Well, it's serious times that we live in. You know, we've got an economy which is going to be close to collapse. We've got Chinese spy at the heart of Parliament. You know, lots of things going on. But
we have now finally, Jack Elsom, got a Home Secretary who said today, "I don't think Britain's got control of its borders," in a shocking statement. Am I right to ask you a question or not? You'll tell me. Is Shabana Mahmood on political manoeuvres? Because some of the rhetoric out of her mouth is rhetoric I never thought I'd hear out of a Labour cabinet minister's mouth. Is she angling for Starmer's job?
Well, I think Shabana Mahmood has long been seen as a tough talker and a serious operator. She, when she was Justice Secretary, when she came into the job, I think very ably handled the prisons crisis and emerged from it politically unscathed, despite the fact that many people thought it was incredibly unpalatable having to let out all of these prisoners early and giving them shorter sentences. She did seem to escape from that without many scars on her back. And since she has become Home Secretary, has really been pretty no-nonsense about what she thinks about both legal and illegal migration. And so I think that Keir Starmer put her in there clearly because he knows the public need to see a Home Secretary who shares their frustration about illegal migration, and I don't think Yvette Cooper really fitted that bill. The only thing I would say, I think, as a word of warning, is that rhetoric only gets you so far, and at some point, actions need to follow. And I think this was the problem, especially under the last government. I remember when Priti Patel was Home Secretary, and she was talking about wave machines, she was talking about jet skis being used to turn back boats in the Channel, build a wall between France and the UK, and then nothing actually transpired. And I think so. Listen. Great rhetoric, and I think the public need to see frustrations from our senior ministers, but that has to now translate into serious action. Otherwise, she'll just be accused of cheap talk with no results.
Let's take up that call, Gav, who said that it's only me and the people that work on CBeebies who believe that Reform are a palatable difference to the other parties that have been in power, and that Farage has. And to quote him, it's fair that we put all sides on this show. He says, we're peddling untruths. This man does nothing but talk about immigration. He has no substance. Today in The Sun, that was a criticism levelled by Jeremy Clarkson when he said he always goes back to immigration. David Bull, chairman of Reform, was on, and he said, and I quote, "Look, we are preparing for government and we are doing all the hard yards." Now, I've sat here and said, and I'll be very honest, Priti Patel took 15 months to come up with anything, and then seemed, in everybody's mind, to almost copy a lot of what Reform said, although she came up with the stamp duty thing. And today in the Commons, I thought performed brilliantly. However, are Reform playing it cleverly? Is it a fair criticism to say they know nothing about anything bar immigration? Or are people like Gav underestimating the millions of people in this country who look at Nigel Farage and go, Christ, we need a change?
Well, listen, it's clear that Nigel Farage has managed to ride this wave of public frustration, not least with the immigration crisis. There's a YouGov poll out yesterday showing that it is still the top concern of voters. About 56% of them label it as their top concern. But I think that it stretches beyond that. I think it's about a deep sense of despair over the past 15, 20 years or so. Immigration is part of it, but it also goes back to people in this country who don't feel that maybe they've got a large enough slice of the pie when it comes to distribution and the Big Bang and the rest of it. And so I think that it comes into the economy, comes into it. crime comes into it a lot, a genuine sense of unfairness. I think that Reform recognised this, and that is why I think they're trying to plug some holes in their ship. Clearly, they've ditched now that £90 billion tax cut that was pledged at the last election, because they know that, I think, a chink in their armour is questions about their fiscal competency and their economic discipline. And Nigel Farage knows that he can't be seen as a one-trick pony on immigration alone, and that he has to broaden his appeal if he is going to win the next election. And for someone like Keir Starmer, who's clearly now written his next Labour election script, which is that, one, it's going to be a two-horse race between Labour and Reform, probably correct. But also, if you do not want that monstrous Farage to get into number 10, then you have to hold your nose and vote for me. And so Keir Starmer is trying to unite the left. He believes that Reform support is capped. I think there is a ceiling of how many people will actually vote for Nigel Farage, but that's a very risky strategy.
Well, if you say
Farage
that,
as the anti-government candidate, then it can spectacularly backfire on him.
Well, look at that poll today, whether you believe it or not. Reform in this new mega poll would storm to a record majority of 444 seats. We should point out that, and I've said it 3 times already in 45 minutes, 3 years and 8 months out. There's time for, and I put this to David Bull, for the left, for the Greens, for the Fruit and Nut Party, for Labour to join together, the establishment to do whatever, people like Gav to jump up and down, to do anything they can to avoid Reform getting in. Do you see that as a possibility? Do you see that as a fact?
Well, listen, that's what clearly Keir Starmer is banking on. He is banking on people thinking that they will vote for him to keep Farage out. But, there's a poll today showing that even with tactical voting, Reform would win a majority, a smaller majority than if people didn't tactically vote, but a majority nonetheless. And that is, I think, because there are many people on the left who just, despite the fact that it could pave a path for Nigel Farage to get in, just will not vote for Keir Starmer. There's many Gaza independents incredibly incensed about his position on Palestine at the start of the Israel-Gaza war. There are people in the Green Party who see Keir Starmer as betraying the left-wing values on which he won the Labour leadership election, so have gone to him. And there are people who are probably Conservatives at their core, but don't like the current Conservative leadership nor Reform, who are going for Liberal Democrats and will never vote for Labour. And so, there's a whole melting pot on the left of people who will not, I don't think, rally behind Keir Starmer's call to get behind him in order to defeat Nigel Farage.
It's very interesting. I just want to ask you about this Chinese spy trial case, because you are, you're in Westminster. I mean, this is extraordinary. I mean, I'm not, an expert, but these two gentlemen, Christopher Berry and Christopher Cash, who worked inside the House of Commons, and I know the Speaker, Sir Lindsay Hoyle, is apoplectic about this, were going to be prosecuted. They were sent to trial, and the papers were on their way, let's say, to the Crown Prosecution Service. We had the election, government changed. This government, seemingly, from what we can gather, is prepared to put trade deals with China ahead of throwing people who might spy for China out. We spoke to Ian Duncan-Smith yesterday. He's been obsessed with this for a long, long time, and quite rightly so. Today in the Commons, Badenoch on total fire. I've said that 3 times as well. Keir Starmer has promised to publish the witness statements of every single part of this case. There are many people here and across the mainstream media who are saying, you've just hung yourself, mate, because there's no doubt either you've been set up or you've been pushed into a corner. And it happens on a daily basis. Is this man fit for office, Jack, genuinely?
Well, it's probably not me to judge, but they have got themselves into an almighty pickle with this Chinese spy scandal. It's a very, very complex case and difficult to boil down. But essentially, it rests on witness statements drawn up by the Deputy National Security Advisor, Matthew Collins, who the government wants us to believe acted in total isolation, not with any oversight from his boss, the National Security Advisor, Jonathan Powell, who's a political appointee, any ministers, nor the Prime Minister. We believe that in this witness statement, he declined to describe China at the time, which is under the last Tory government, as a threat to national security, which was what the bar was at the time when the crimes were committed. The CPS asking for more and more evidence, as they said it, because they said that we can't prosecute with the current witness statements provided. They wanted more evidence that China was a threat. The crux of the matter is that Labour are saying that the Tory government did not categorise China as a threat and therefore their hands are tied. The Tories are saying, oh, yes, we did, and are pointing to numerous statements saying, in the Commons or speeches showing China is a threat. And so that's what it comes down to. But the wood through the trees in all of this, which is the point that you were making, is that the government has got itself into a tussle about, one, wanting to act like it talks tough on China, but two, wanting to also cozy up to China because it wants the economic growth it could provide them to get them out of their fiscal slump.
Doesn't that sum up our Prime Minister and our government, Jack, very briefly, that we spend the entire time, it seems, as a country trying to cozy up to people who actually don't want anything to do with us and trying to please all the people all the time, and we end up hacking off most of the people? Who can forget earlier in this week? Thank you so much. You are a legend. We know you're busy. Jack Elsom, always a pleasure, never at all. Political editor of The Sun. People who write things to me and they think I'm not going to read it out because I don't like it. This is anonymous. It's always anonymous. Ha! Brilliant. Kyle just got owned by Gav. What an arse. He had to cut him off because he's not intelligent. He had no answer. Just the usual dribble. I hate Kyle. Kyle got owned. A very good afternoon to you too. This is Talk Drive.
Hamas are just shooting their own Palestinian neighbours because they don't like them, because they're part of a different gang. By recognising those bloodthirsty cockroaches, by recognising those ghastly terrorists, actually it almost scuppered the peace deal. Keir Starmer's in Parliament lying about how actually it helped it. Well, it didn't help it. And they accuse people of talking the country down. Well, they're taking the country down, which is a lot worse than talking it down. They're actually taking it down into the gutter, into the sewer, and further down into the depths and the bowels of the earth, from which it may never recover.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Loads of you responding. Jez, reform sorting the immigration problems out will solve untold problems. Your call area didn't mention the great work in County Council that's being done by reform. It's a massive task, but we need this change. And let's be honest, the other two parties have put us in a position that's very concerning. Martin Allensham in Nottinghamshire. Hello to Andy. What was that caller on about? If the public sussed reform, why are they polling so high? You mentioned tax cuts. He dismissed it. If he's so bloody happy with how things are run, why does he sound so angry? Because he realises that reform are coming for him. Someone who knows the guy who just rang you should ring us all and tell us what he does for a living. Richard, that man has to be plank of the week. He's entitled to his opinion. Jez, people like Gav are completely underestimated national threats. I'll leave it at that. June, well done, Jez. Gav, what a moron. What planet is he on? A 73-year-old who worked from 13. I might not agree with everything reform says, but Labour just keep telling lies as this country goes down the Swanee. Chris, Jez, you were nice to Gav. Here's what's wrong with this country. He is what's wrong with this country. Total lefties and hate reformers because he knows it's going to get rid of that left liberalism. The guy was a jerk. Kevin, I noticed that clown that phones you wouldn't let you ask or answer. He constantly shouted over you. That is a steeple trick of the left. Well done, Jez. That bloke was the epitome of what's wrong with our country. Keep up the good work. Marty in Gillingham. Well done, Jez. What an idiot. Keep it up. Mark in London. Sarah in Stockton-on-Tees. This is great. Keir Starmer, finally, at Prime Minister's Question Time, answered a straight question with a yes or no reply. Why do I not believe him still, she says. 4 minutes to 5. Quickly, 2 new callers in Guildford. Eddie, you got 2 minutes on Talk Drive. What do you want to say?
Hi, Jeremy. Just a quick one. I'm a bit confused because with regard to David Bull saying that, that there aren't the depth of policies that there should be, because on Reform's website, they've got a 28-page document called Our Contract with You, and it goes through absolutely everything. It covers the economy, the NHS, net zero, policing, justice, education, the list goes on and on. I don't understand why they're not saying, hey, it's on the website, this is what we stand for, this is what we're going to do.
Because I think what they're saying is that as the sands of time shift, there will be people wanting answers to all sorts of things that perhaps still need looking into. I don't think Reform has in any way ever stood up and said, we are A and 1 the finished article or B and 2. We have all the answers to everything. But I agree with that text message that says there's got to be something in this country that millions of people are so fed up with what they've seen and what they've had and what they expect to happen in the future that they've turned to a party that, rightly, yes, only has 5 MPs. And you heard David Bull say he needs 9,000 candidates. But what you'll see is the mainstream media, and certainly you'll see this with the Liberal left, they're panicking their bits off. They'll say, these people, they're all racist and far right. They don't have the best interests of the country. Nobody knows, do they? Because Reform haven't been given a go. Thank you, Eddie. Let's get a voice note. Mike, go.
We should get more callers unlike him, right? Because they spout off all this rubbish. And then when you ask them a question, they don't know the answers. And then when they don't know the answers, they get all violent and vile and start calling people names and start getting all shirty, right? Keep them coming, right? Because they show the left up for exactly what they are. And they'll carry on like that, right? These are the same sort of people that are going out every Saturday demonstrating in London. What's the next cause going to be then, I wonder?
Love it. Steve's a new caller. He is in Surrey. Steve, you got 1.5 minutes. Go. Steve, come on, 1.5 minutes. Go.
How you doing, Jeremy? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, my friend. What do you want to say?
Right, I'm third generation British forces.
Yeah.
My granddad served. My dad served. I did 15 years in the Royal Marines.
Good man.
I went to Iraq, Afghanistan. Swore an oath to the flag and the Queen, buried my friends in that flag, and now we're not allowed to fly it in our own country, or we're made out to be racist in our own country. We need reform. We need reform quickly, because the country's... This is not what we fought for.
When you thank you by the way for your service, for your 3 generations, and I respect anybody and everybody that's done that. Very quickly, because I agree with you, what do you say to that guy Gav who said this country's fine, fascists are behind and the Reform Party, and they're a bunch of liars? You've got 30 seconds. What do you say to Gav?
One word.
Oh.
He's a plank.
Oh, lovely. Good. Well, that'll make this week's show easy. Thank you very much indeed. And we do mean that. We appreciate your service. Almost 5 o'clock. We're live across the UK. It's the home of free speech and common sense. Phone me up and have a go at me. I don't give a rat's arse. It's fine. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. And the news at 5 is next, my friends, on Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome to the second hour of Drive for Wednesday on the home of free speech and common sense. If you want to play ball, see what I did there? 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. Do please start your message with the word talk. So much to talk about. Shabana Mahmood, our Home Secretary, today announcing in this hapless government, I think our borders are not under the control of the British government. Right, what are you going to do about it then? I'm going to have a meeting with the Balkan states. Why? Just come up with an answer, love. You know you want to be the next Prime Minister. A mega poll out today says that reform would crush Labour and the Tories with the biggest majority ever. We took a very interesting call from a guy called Gav. For the people who think that I only sit here and spout people who want... No, you can do whatever you want. Gav is undoubtedly anti-reform, anti-talk, anti-anybody that wants to talk about change, because Gav astonishingly said, despite his anger, that he was happy with the state of the United Kingdom. Have a listen. Are you happy with the country you've got?
That's not my question.
Are you happy with the country you've got?
I'm not happy with the country that reform would create, because you had a spokesman for reform earlier.
You've just done it again. Are you happy with the country you've got?
Yes.
You are?
Yes.
So you're happy for old people to live in cold homes, yes?
Rhetoric, mate. That's just rhetoric. That's not how it is.
So do you know any old people who have had their heating allowance taken or not?
Reform.
Do you know any veterans who live on the streets? Do you know any veterans? What do you make of Gav, peeps? So 344 499 1000. We say a very good afternoon to Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. The left are getting more panicky by the minute, my love.
I love the way you just cut him off there. I mean...
I listened to him for 7 minutes.
Maybe he had some...
You only heard 30 seconds. I put up with him for 7 bloody minutes. Basically, he said...
Oh, gosh, okay.
He said, only you talk and CBeebies support a man who's a fascist, a right-wing thug, who basically is going to destroy a country that I'm very happy with. To which I said, so you're happy with everything? Because you sound very angry. You're happy with, you know, cold pensioners, veterans on the street, people can't get operations, farmers being screwed, waspy women being let down, being humiliated internationally by Donald Trump, by some idiot today saying, oh, let's build 2,000 bloody acres of wind farms. For what? Oh, to heat some homes if it's windy, not that it ever blows, sunny, not that it ever is. So you only heard a snapshot, but Gav's not very happy. The big criticism from Gav was they don't have any policies. All they do, you can answer, bloody reform, it's just immigration. They've got nothing. We tried to point out the contract on the website. No effects at all. Gav, a very unhappy person, Isabel Oakeshott.
I mean, I always find it weird when people start shouting that reform doesn't have any policies, because there's absolutely masses of policy. Has he not heard of all the plans on net zero? I mean, reform is basically the reason that there's been such a shift in attitude to net zero from even the likes of Boris Johnson, who was a great evangelist for it and is now saying maybe we went a little bit too far. In any case, it's not really that you can just set aside immigration, because so many of the other problems that we're facing actually stem from immigration, whether it's the pressure on the health service, whether it's the pressure on housing, on education. You know, we could continue to rattle off a long list of pressures that are linked to immigration, and also the cost to the public purse. And the polls show that actually the number one issue for voters is the cost of living still, and immigration comes second and the NHS comes third.
Today in The Sun, what galvanised Gav, happy Gav as I'm calling him, to call was Jeremy Clarkson questioned whether, you know, Nigel Farage, he said, and I quote, always scuttles back to immigration whenever he's asked about the economy. I think he was citing the £90 billion worth of tax cuts that's been rowed back on. I tried to say in a balanced way, and David Bull was on earlier, who said the same. We're not the finished product. We need candidates. We need to fill in meat on the bone. But is it not interesting to see the hysterical response of so many on the left? And I put it down to one thing, and I'd love to know your take. I think that they know that the monopoly that these two parties have had in this country is over. And it's not about you or me or talk or anybody. This is about, and I keep saying it, the silent majority. This is about a whole bunch, well, millions of people in this country who have always played ball and lived their lives as they've been told to live and have always done correctly. But now they're missing out. Now they can't afford their food bills. They can't afford their energy increases. They're struggling when they see this government spending money on migrants or net zero or whatever it is. And suddenly they know their voices can be heard. That's why I think reform resonates with so many people. And I don't think whatever the Liberals say, that's going to go away. Do you?
No, I really don't. And you know, you're right that the two main parties are terrified, basically, and everyone who's done okay out of that two-party system for as long, basically for our entire lifetimes, power has sort of been pushed from one to another, hasn't it? You know, it's your turn now it's our turn. And, you know, that worked well enough during some years and less well during others. And now, for the first time, it looks as if that two-party grip has actually been broken. And that is extraordinary. You know, no one really thought that was possible under the so-called first-past-the-post system. It was thought that it would only be possible to break that grip that the Labour and the Conservative Party have had on UK politics by having a whole new voting system. And as of the moment, it looks like that is no longer the case. Now, we're along many, many years off an election, so we don't quite know how it will play out. But what I can say is that for Shabana Mahmood, our new Home Secretary, to think that the solution to our immigration crisis is to call on international partners in the Balkans rather than looking to herself and her own government to sort out our borders is frankly delusional. You know, and once again, we have this government laughably claiming to be showing international leadership on an issue on which the only example we're setting is how not to do things.
I agree. And you said something in there that as the uni party, or the way that politics has certainly evolved or taken place in my lifetime, one after the other, sometimes five, sometimes 10, but basically in, out, we create, we destroy, we create, we destroy. I see that the sort of Gavs of this world, if you want me to be honest, that the liberal left becoming more hysterical on a daily basis, very much like all those who had milked the EU for years. I mean, all of them, the salaries, the benefits, the lives and whatever. I believe that change is happening, and I've said that repeatedly. At this moment in time, if you look at that mega poll, we'll talk about that in a tick, Reform are on scale and it's all looking fantastic. That might implode, and I've said this repeatedly every day. It might be that we're sat here in 2 years and Roman Polanski, it's not called Roman Polanski, the other one, Jack,
yeah, I know you mean.
The breast builder, the green guy, he might be in Nigel's position in 2 years' time. What I can categorically say to people like Gav, whether it's Reform or another party, I think the British people have woken up, and change in whatever form is absolutely on the way, like it's never been in my lifetime.
I just find it so hard to understand how anyone can look at the state of our country and say everything's fine.
Precisely.
You know much about your caller and what his background is and where he lives and what kind of alternative parallel universe he's in. But I don't think he can possibly spend much time walking around central London,
nope.
Walking around the town centres up and down our country, you know, particularly in the north, which has been hardest hit. You know, they've been hammered for so long by the collapse of our manufacturing industries, and now they're putting up with trying to absorb a tidal wave of foreigners who don't have the skills to make a contribution, you know, and that is driving down living standards. It's not me saying that, you know, that is actually measured and accepted by some of the government's own assessors of these things. So, you know, I don't know how anyone can say everything's fine. That reeks of such astonishing out of touch complacency that it's hard for me to comprehend.
Well, we've got a chancellor who's scuttled off to the IMF today. Rachel from Accounts has gone to the IMF, presumably to go on one knee and tell them that in months' time she's going to come forward and ask for more money because we're skint. She absolutely alluded in her interviews to the press before she took off for America today that she will indeed, you know, tax rises rather, and spending cuts will be a consideration in the next budget. This is a government who has no control over the fiscal responsibility, as the Tories didn't at the end. And I give that as another example. We were told by this government taxes will be cut. Well, they certainly won't go up. We were told by this government, you know, our council tax will go down. We were told our energy prices would go down. We were told small business, it's all about growth. All of that's gone. I don't know how anybody, unless Gav lives in a bubble, and I brought up, you know, pensioners, veterans, waspy women, farmers, people are being screwed on a daily basis. All of us are being screwed by this government, and it's astonishing to me. Can I ask you about this mega poll out today? If there was an election tomorrow, Farage would storm to the biggest landslide in modern British political history, returning 445 seats, cutting Labour to a mere 73. Here's the story, though. The Tories to potentially 7 seats. Now, let's add the caveat, Isabel, and say this is 3 years and 8 months out. And there will be, as I said to David Bull, every single liberal lefty is going to join forces politically, legally, media-based wise, and attack Nigel and Reform and anybody who dares to support it, because I think they're terrified that this will actually become a reality. Thoughts?
Well, I think everyone at Reform is obviously thrilled by that poll, but equally it's a case of, you know, calm down everyone, because as you say, we're years away. It's a snapshot in time, and actually, interestingly, the research for that poll was carried out before party conference. I think it was carried out just after Reform's conference, when you might normally expect a party to have a bit of a bounce in the polls. Before the
stamp duty announcement of Badenoch, I'll give you that. It's an important point.
And so I think it would be very interesting to see how things shift post the other two party conferences, and in particular whether the Tories have picked up any extra supporters after Kemi Badenoch's supposedly barnstorming speech, And, you know, that stamp duty announcement, which I'm certainly not gonna diss. You know, I'd love the idea of stamp duty being abolished, but I don't imagine that there'll be anything more than a minor uptick in the Tory polling, and probably very little at all. So yes, it's really exciting, but absolutely, Reform has got a ton more work to do. And earlier this week, it wasn't actually, not much attention was given to it because there was much bigger story of peace in our time, Israel and Palestine. But Nigel Farage did announce that they're going back to the drawing board on a lot of the economic proposals that were in the last manifesto. Now, nobody should be jeering about that because manifestos are written at a point in time. And that point in time was basically 18 months ago now, when the outlook looked very different. And of course, a manifesto like that imagines a Tory government, a Reform government. In fact, what we got was a Labour government that is very substantially.
And also, it'll sound like I'm agreeing with you on everything, but there's another point. You know, we have a government that patently wasn't prepared and had no plan, which is bad enough. We had a Tory government before that refused to steadfastly move from any of what they said they were going to do. The criticism by some of Reform is there isn't enough meat on the bone, or certainly the tax cuts, the 90 billions, that's changed. Jeremy Clarkson this morning in The Sun saying he can't answer economics, he scuttles back to immigration. I would suggest that politics moves on a daily basis, and the better politicians in this country and across the world are reactive to that, but proactive in their beliefs. And listen, I keep saying it. Could be Nigel, could be somebody else. I just feel like this country is on the verge of change. I don't know, forgive me because I'm ageing. Have we spoken at all this week?
You know what? I'm obviously aging too, and it's such a pleasure that I feel like it was only yesterday that we spoke.
You're very sweet, but I don't think we've spoken since quite possibly the most humiliating and embarrassing moment ever in the history of a British Prime Minister. I was lucky enough to be on air. I never will miss an opportunity to replay this because it went absolutely viral with the commentary that I put in it. On Monday, as Donald Trump, love him or loathe him, announced peace in the Middle East, he absolutely ripped a second body on Keir Starmer. Have a watch, have a listen, peeps. We've got to play it again.
United Kingdom. Where's United Kingdom? Where's my friend? Where? Come here.
I'm here. I'm here.
Is everything going good?
Oh, very good.
It's very nice that you're
Thank
here.
you. Right.
These
nice
people all came in like
her off to the back. Go
20-minute notice, and I think it's fantastic. And we have so many others, and just so many others. And
how good was that, Isabel?
Look at his face. His face said
it's like he's sucking a lemon, love.
Oh my God. I mean, what humiliation. But, you know, it serves him right, really, for trying to claim that the UK played a key role, as Bridget Phillipson said. No, what we did is we actually played a key role in complicating matters, rewarding Hamas, and recognising a non-existent state of Palestine, which only strengthened the hand of terrorists and complicated negotiations. So well done, guys. You got the humiliation you deserve. The thing is that the rest of us, we proud British citizens, do not deserve that kind of...
You racist, you far-right racist, for saying that you're proud. Have you heard the story this week? I just did Plank of the Week. There is a woman, I'm not even going to pretend, I think she's in Falkirk, who did an interview and said she was born and bred in Falkirk and has been called a racist because by saying that it could offend the people that go and live in Falkirk that aren't born and bred there. Honestly, I'm not joking. That's the sort of rubbish we're dealing with.
I know, I'm familiar with the story. She's actually a Reform councillor, and her big mistake was ever to have demurred from what she said. You know, she acted like she'd said something wrong. She'd said nothing whatsoever wrong. Naturally, political opportunist, pathetic wokerati, someone in the victim culturehood has written a letter, you know, complaint to the police. Now, what the police should say is, we're having absolutely no truck with this and stop wasting our time. But of course,
let's just talk two more things, both about Starmer. One serious, the Chinese spy trial chaos. these two guys, Christopher Berry, Christopher Case, working inside Parliament. We know the Speaker's livid. There was a case prepared to go to the CPS, then the government changed. The CPS is saying this government is more interested in sustaining deals with China, isn't going to say the Chinese are dodgy, despite many people believing that they are. The whole thing's collapsed. For Starmer, this is like, oh my God, the legal profession are being horrible to me. He stood up today at PMQs and said, I guarantee I will publish the witness statements for everybody to do this. Now, whoever they blame, this is going to come back and bite him on the backside. I'm convinced. I'd love your take on this. I think he's about to be thrown under the bus by the mandarins behind, who obviously pull his puppet string arms, because I think that's a massive own goal today, don't you?
Well, I've been writing it on a deadline today, and I haven't actually watched PMQs, but I do know that he is under intense pressure over the handling of this, and that it does actually have the potential to claim some very senior job. You know, someone is going to have to pay for this fiasco, and whether it will be Starmer, it would be nice to think it was, but I doubt it. But nonetheless,
well, it's interesting. His national security advisor, Jonathan Poole, as he likes to be called, though it's spelled Powell, he's a sort of Blairite crony. He's basically said, I didn't know about it. I didn't know that the government apparently told the CPS we weren't giving him the details. Apparently, it was his assistant. Nobody knew he had an assistant. It was a career civil servant who's going to be made to take the rap. I just don't think this goes away. I think, and also today, Starmer said, I have absolute total belief in Jonathan Powell. I thought, he's buggered. He said that. He'll be gone. He'll be gone by Friday.
You know what this is reminding me of, actually? It's reminding me of when I obtained an internal document from the Cabinet Office, which was done shortly after the pandemic, during which they basically privately said, we just don't want to blame the Chinese for the pandemic. I'm obviously paraphrasing here, because we don't want to upset our Chinese allies. That is their attitude. Everybody now knows, it's basically been proven beyond any reasonable doubt, that the Chinese and their negligence are responsible for the global pandemic. And yet, our leaders have never really wanted to admit this because they're afraid of upsetting Beijing. I mean, this is appalling.
Completely agree. And just before you go, Ryan, don't get upset, 30 seconds. Mike this morning solved the problem of Keir Starmer. He's decided, he's checked this out, he's got mythomania. Do you know what mythomania is?
What, believes in his own, I want to use
it's a 20-second clip. Mike Graham has found out what's wrong with our Prime Minister. Please play it very quickly.
Damien from Behind the Glass has come up with an even better definition, I think, where apparently it's called mythomania. Compulsive lying, a persistent and uncontrollable urge to lie, going beyond occasional fibbing or social lies. Lying often involves creating intricate and dramatic, sometimes unbelievable tales about one's past achievements or experiences. Like, for example, saying, we worked very well behind the scenes to get the peace deal done. So Keir Starmer suffers from mythomania. We've finally solved the problem.
15 seconds, Isabel. Is that shocking? Mythomania. That's what's wrong with the PM.
No, I think that's probably what's wrong with an awful lot of politicians, isn't it? Mythomania. That's a new one.
I love it. Thank you so much indeed for coming on. We love having you on Talk's international editor. That was Isabel Oakeshott. This is Talk on 0344 499 1000. Russell Quirk is next.
incited people into the belief that the Israelis are fundamentally the most evil people in the world. Now, if you have that situation, it's not surprising that people are going to say, well, what do you do with people who are effectively Nazis? Well, that's what the Israeli Jews are being called. People who are evil, people who are demonic. You have to get rid of them. And so you have this innately, potentially murderous discourse.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
About 5:25, we're live across the United Kingdom. We're delighted to be joined now by a Talk broadcaster, I'm going to say local reform councillor. You piece of crap. We've had Gavin on the show. Listen, have you got Gavin's call? Right, could you plug your mic in? That might be useful. Oh, brilliant. And you wonder... Right, let me... That was very...
I've been off for a while. I'm a bit rusty.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's do it again. Take two. Welcome to Russell. I don't know how to make the microphone work. Quirky, how are you, son?
It was a tech glitch.
You are a reform councillor. You are a right-wing fascist thug, according to Gav. Have you got Gav's call? Gav says that only CBeebies and this station support Nigel Farage as a fascist and thug. Play a bit of the call. Listen to this. Are you happy with the country you've got?
That's not my question.
Are you happy with the country you've got?
I'm not happy with the country that reform would create, because you had a spokesman for reform earlier.
You've just done it again. Are you happy with the country you've got?
Yes.
You are?
Yes.
So you're happy for old people to live in cold homes, yes?
Rhetoric, mate. That's just rhetoric. That's not how it is.
So do you know any old people who have had their heating allowance taken or not?
Reform.
Do you know any veterans who live on the streets? Do you know any veterans? I'll let you as a reform councillor. Gavin was very angry.
So the thing is, when you get these lazy slurs from the left that reformer this, reformer that, when you actually ask them specifically, well, can you give us an example of something that reform, any of their representatives, any of their MPs, any of their members or supporters have said that is in any way inappropriate or racist or fascist, to use their terminology? They can't think of anything.
His criticism was that there isn't any meat on the bone, and I'd had David Bull on who said we need to find 9,000 councillors. That's what he said about reform. He also said that we do, in many ways. We've got that, the document, the 28-page document on the website, but we need to fill in a little meat on the bone. This criticism has started for two reasons in my mind. One, Nigel rode back on the 90 billion tax cuts because he would say that was 18 months ago and we're reacting to the financial situation now. I see it as easier than that. I see it that the left, the Liberals, the establishment are pooing their panties about this. They really are, and I can't think of a better way of putting it than that.
They clearly are, which is why successive councils across Britain, including mine in Essex, keep cancelling elections every May because they know exactly what's going to happen in terms of the old guard, whether it be the uni-party players that are the Labour Party and the Conservative Party falling on their swords as they should, and reform sweeping the board. But look, let's talk about policy. I mean, no one can say that between Zia Youssef, David Bull, Richard Tice and Nigel Farage, they haven't declared what we stand for as a party. Everybody knows what
I said to him,
and I don't
cuts,
just
and
mean
he said that's not going to happen. Nobody else has done it. I went, well,
no, but hang on. I think this pause, if you want to call it that, with regard to reform, the manifesto, the contract that Reform put out there back in April, May 2024, in the run-up to the general election, was very much a contract with the public. Now things have changed because of the disastrous effect of the way that Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer run the economy. So of course we need to change tack a little bit. I think what's very sensible, and I know I'm slightly biased here because I'm an elected Reform councillor now, not just a political commentator, but isn't it sensible to say, look, rather than just sweeping give away gimmick tax cuts, like let's abolish stamp duty today, which is what Kemi Badenoch did at the conference recently, to actually say, as Nigel Farage is saying, actually, first of all, I think we need to look at spending cuts. I think we need to be sensible here in terms of civil service.
So how would you answer Jeremy Clarkson in The Sun today, who said every time you talk to Farage about economics, he scuttles back to his only thing that works, immigration. My point would be immigration is probably the reason why this country is on its arse.
Look, when you're spending billions of pounds a year on asylum accommodation, so £8 billion a year, plus you're also funding the legal aid of these asylum seekers to seek asylum against the grain, and we're providing them with goodness knows what in terms of NHS and education and trampoline lessons, something that you and I and Mike Graham and others here have rehearsed a million times, swimming lessons, which you would imagine...
Today on the front of The Sun, illegal migrants awaiting deportation, sort of been told to bugger off, are getting free arts and craft classes, IT tutorials, English lessons, swimming lessons, paddle lessons, and the perks are being offered under the terms of a £260 million contract to Serco. Yeah. Now, for Gavin, those left you, try telling that to the people I do know who can't heat their damn homes, because they don't understand that, because they paid tax for 50 years.
So if you were to control, if we were to control borders, then obviously we would save literally tens of billions of pounds. If we cancel net zero, which Reform have said they are unequivocally going to do, that saves about £11 billion per year, and so on. And if we were to be realistic, we've seen in the news today this outrage that is tube drivers now want to work a 4-day week in exchange for yet more money, another 20% increase.
It's stress and another 20% increase.
So, yeah, of course it is, because it must be really hard doing that all day long.
That didn't work on the radio.
If we were to curb the public sector, not just in terms of those pay rises, but in terms of the size of the public sector, we have 500,000 civil servants in Britain now. 500,000, costing £16 billion a year. It's a no-brainer to start there first. So those that say everything's fine, forget societal decay and crime and immigration.
Completely.
The economy can be corrected, but we need to start with public sector.
I said to Isabel, the reason I think the left are so up in arms is that the gravy train's about to end. This is why everybody was upset about the EU, because people had their noses in the troughs. It'd be very interesting, and Reform has to prove itself with local councils. Couple of voice notes. This is a new thing we do on the show. Let's start with Darren on lefties. Nice.
Lovely show as ever. That Gav guy was comedy gold. You just had to tune in, really, because that's the sort of entertainment you get from these wokies, these brainwashed wokies. I mean, come on. You asked him a question. Nigel Farage, what's he lied about? Well, he's got a French girlfriend. Oh, he's got a German. Oh, he said he wouldn't said he on a bus he's seen one white person. I mean, come on. Normally they say he lied about 350 million a week on a bus. But he did lie because it was actually over 500 million they're now spending on the NHS. So he underestimated. But come on, they're so deluded, these wokies, aren't they?
So deluded. Rob, he was quite upset about Gav as well. Go.
Jez, I nearly crashed my bike, man, so I had to get off just to send you a message. Yeah, listening to that Gav, I mean, oh my God, this is the fight we've got coming against us. Idiots like this who are uneducated, right? I mean, I'm not probably the most educated person in the world, but I've got common sense, and I know that it ain't just about immigration. All you've got to do, is listen and have a look at the reform policies, which they've got many of. So, Gav, if you know how to use Google, mate, I suggest you use it. Type in reform policies, and there you will see everything.
Brilliant. Nearly fell off his bike. The other thing that got me, and we haven't got a lot of time today, unfortunately, because you're a legend. Ed Miliband today has approved the UK's largest solar farm, covering 2,000 areas of football pitches worth of prime farmland. This is the Tilbridge solar farm near Gainsborough in a very flat Leicestershire. Once operational, it's cost billions, this site will generate enough renewable electricity for 300,000 homes.
But only when it's sunny. Yes.
Yeah.
So
the rest of you have to import it at twice the cost from some other bugger.
Not at 5 o'clock on a November evening or 7 o'clock on a December morning. What are we then going to do? I guess that food, because we are an expanding population thanks to immigration, 700,000 plus people.
Stop blaming everything on immigration.
Some of it does
racist.
come back to it, I'm afraid.
I know it does.
So what are we going to start doing? Because the population is growing, presumably we're going to have to import the food, which presumably is going to entail diesel ships and planes and and so on.
Yes, which is going to screw up the net zero targets.
It's a bit like us not having North Sea oil and gas anymore. Guess where we get it from? We import it from
Rather
Norway.
than drill. Who imagines that business...
It all makes perfect sense.
Now, just to finish, I don't know if you know this, but Mike this morning, I won't play the clip, has come up with an answer. I was at the in-laws, and mother-in-law, when I came downstairs this morning, said, Mike's worked it out. Keir Starmer lies all the time because he's got mycomania. Well, she obviously slightly delirious. It's brilliant. Mythomania. I nearly said meth, and I have to be really careful. Keir Starmer is not on meth. I didn't say that. Mythomania is basically when you lie so much you don't even know. And as somebody's just said, Starmer will tell everybody that he doesn't have mythomania. Yeah. But will we believe him? Because that could be another lie.
Keir Starmer, the Walter Mitty of politics. The
bad week, though.
Pinocchio syndrome.
I mean, honestly.
Is there ever a week that goes by where there is not an assertion that is proven against Keir Starmer lying? I mean, literally, it's every week. I mean,
he looks out of his depth. I thought, actually, and there wasn't actually a moment, I was never going to say this, but I'm going to. When he stepped back with a lemon in his mouth...
from Trump?
Yeah. I actually thought, mate, I'm beginning to feel sorry for you now. You're out of your bloody depth. You've been played like a good un.
He's gone for the job, he's got it, and now realises it's a job that he has been very much over-promoted in, isn't it?
Well, not you, local reform councillor and doyen of Essex. I'm born and bred in Essex.
You can't say that.
Oh, I can. Why not?
Well, I can't say it, because that's racist, and I'll be arrested on the way out the studio.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Right. Ryan, where were you born and bred? Watford, strong in the arm and thick in the head. 25 to 6, we're live across the UK on Talk Drive.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
22 minutes to 6 o'clock, a slight deviation. You will have heard MG and I, the legend that is MG, talk about our first ever live show. Mike Graham and Jeremy Culls, in that order, OK? The World of Common Sense. It takes place Saturday the 15th of November. Here's the trailer, because one of our special guests is live on this show in 30 seconds. Go.
I'll tell you what, Jezza, look at this place here.
This is amazing.
All these posters. All these bands.
This is history, isn't it?
It's totally history.
Look at all these bands that played here.
Keep closed, we're not in use, it says there.
Is this the stage?
This is the stage, look at it.
How exciting.
This is where we're going to be.
Wow, look at that.
Look at the size of this.
Live from the Shepherd's Bush Empire, Saturday, 15th of November. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Graham!
And Jeremy Kyle.
I do like a big hand on my entrance, don't you?
Me too.
Be great, mate. Going to be some gig. Now, when we were there, we made a decision because it was sold out. Right at the very top in the gods is the third tier. I thought, if Keir Starmer's 2-tier, Mike and I are going to be 3 tiers. So there are still on Ticketmaster.com some half-price, top-tier tickets. Go and have a look. But, ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to welcome. I'm not even going... This man... Mike and I had lunch with this next guest, and we came away going, we're both crap.
Oh, shit.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lewis MacLeod from Dead Ringers, the greatest... I mean, you are the best.
Oh.
Donald Trump, good afternoon.
Thank you very much. What an introduction. I like that. I want what was it, a warm hand on my entrance? Yeah. That's very, very exciting. You know, great job. Thank you very much. Jeremy Kyle, great guy.
You were, it would be fair to say, Donald, rather scathing of Keir Starmer on Monday in the Middle East. What do you make of Keir Starmer?
Well, you know, he's a very small guy. You know, it's not my fault if he doesn't know where to stand. You know, like Sadiq Khan, you know, he's tiny. You know, I just stepped him forward and suddenly it's a diplomatic incident, but, you know, he's got to know his place behind me.
I honestly, mate, I spent lunchtime laughing my head off. Lewis is going to join us. This man is on Dead Ringers on the BBC, and you do everybody. Give me... Boris Johnson's quite funny as well.
Well, actually, we've on the tour, we have... there's 2 Borises. John,
oh, is there?
Yeah, well, we've got... there's, I won't give too much away, but John Culshaw does a brilliant Boris, and so we both kind of try and find a way to make them work, and they do. But I've got this Boris, which is... ITTV4. I should say, thank you so much. It's so wonderful to be here in the Death Star, the wonderful News UK, with Jeremy Kyle.
I was wetting myself. Who are you? Starmer, not yet. We're working.
Well, you know, Duncan Wisby on the show does a brilliant Starmer, but I think it sounds a bit like there's a droid in Star Wars that comes along. He's saying, get this giant working carpet out of my way, and this little thing comes along. He's got a hello, and I'm very much happy to be here with you today. True. It's just that it's a nasal. So.
We're so looking forward to you being there.
Thank you
it's
very
a big
much.
thing for us, and we're not going to give it away, but there's going to be some stuff that is going to return to the stage that used to be on British television.
Is that a question for the audience to work out?
We asked you. No, I'm not doing any more. I'm not doing any more. But it's going to be a fantastic night. And Lewis, a whole plethora of characters, including... Yeah. Well, we can't really... I don't want to give anything away, really, do we?
Well, I mean, if you know, it's there's going to be lots of impersonations, so
maybe we could do a sort of Brian Cox in the sort of universe of impersonations. There's lots of star systems that work. And maybe on your evening we'll have maybe a word or two from him, you know.
Yeah, royalty? Maybe royalty.
If you want, yeah.
Yeah, we can do royalty. We can do...
Maybe we could.
Sit to my mother.
Great.
We're so grateful. Ticketmaster.com. 3rd tier, and Mike, listen, for me it's just great to do it with Mike and to do it with you.
He's brilliant. My Mike Graham impersonation sounds like Nigel Farage, so it needs a bit of work.
Do you, Nigel?
Anyway, it's always bad. I don't know if his chair's got... No, but if you get close, you get... No, let me speak. I'd like to say to the people of Great Britain, this is the problem we've got. But, you know, there's a thing that he does I quite like. All right, mate, yeah, it was great. Yeah.
Do you do Jeremy Kyle yet?
Not yet, and I'm not going to do it in case I get that coffee on my...
I'm not throwing coffee at you. I can do you.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Well, I just met a guy and he's wanting me to mimic him. This is mental.
It's utterly mental. Lewis MacLeod, part of Mike and Jez's, well, it is Mike and Jez's World of Common Sense, Saturday the 15th of November. Please, you can grab the last remaining tickets on level 3. Lewis will be there. It's going to be a great night.
I'm looking forward to it.
We've got a bar on stage. Am I allowed to? No, I'm not allowed to say, but we've got a barmaid. Jodie is working on that Saturday night. She's going to be on stage.
Great.
Surrounded by
job.
straw. What?
Great job.
And just to finish, Donald, are you going for a 3rd term, or are you going to pass the baton?
I'm going to be like Roosevelt. It's never going to end. I'll be there until the end of time.
And Melania, is she okay?
She's a great girl, wonderful. You know, I wake up in the morning, I lean over, I give her a kiss on the face. Time. You know, we live at opposite ends of the White House. It's the only way I can communicate with her. She's wonderful.
Lovely. Donald, more importantly, Lewis McLeod, I love you, man. You made me laugh all lunchtime. We so look forward to it. Lewis McLeod,
Thank you
ladies
very
and gentlemen,
much. Happy
Saturday,
days.
15th of November. Sport on the way. If you want to be part of this vain attempt at a radio and television programme, you can call me right now, because when you call, it gives me so much more time to work out what's coming next. This is Talk Drive.
They clearly do not want this man to have to go because they've lost so many serious people, and yet the finger keeps pointing at him over pretty much everything that goes wrong in government.
Because the finger also pointed at him over the Peter Mandelson debacle as well. So his hands are not clean, and as much as he's an experienced person in government, he's also made a fair few mistakes in that time. So I think that it will be interesting to understand why it is they're protecting him. What is it that he knows that nobody else wants to get out? And I suspect there is some pretty deep dirt going on.
It has incited people into the belief that the Israelis are fundamentally the most evil people in the world. Now, if you have that situation, it's not surprising that people are going to say, well, what do you do with people who are effectively Nazis? Well, that's what the Israeli Jews are being called. People who are evil, people who are demonic. You have to get rid of them. And so you have this innately, potentially murderous discourse.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome at 12 minutes to 6. Jana's going to push the button for the sport right now.
Sports news from The Sun.
Amy, all I'm saying is listen and learn. We say a very good evening to a legendary man, Sean Custis. Can I tell you something? Because you're quite dour, aren't you?
Not really.
You are
I
quite
dour. Quite upbeat, really, but go on.
No, you are. I mean, I know you. But
people
people
dour about England's chances.
We'll talk about that. Last night on the show, we get the audience figures. The peak was when you opened your gob. Yeah. All these women going, oh my God, he's such a great guy.
That's because they listen to me on Sunday mornings on Talk Sport as well, you see.
That was a cheap plug, and one I'm very happy to partake in. Welcome. England last night. I actually got home to the in-laws, not home, I stayed with them last night to watch the second half. England qualifying for 2026 World Cup, convincing win over Latvia. She just said to me, what more do you want? They haven't conceded a goal, they've won 6 games, Tuchel on course. But now it gets more difficult. That's not the sceptic in me, that's realism.
Yeah, of course it does. does, and I think he'll use November, what we call international break, the 2 games which are now dead rubbers, to try and fine-tune his squad and see exactly what he wants. And, you know, people have been talking about the fact that there's some quality players, including Harry Kane talking about this, who aren't in the squad at the moment. How are you going to fit them all in? Because that little area behind the strikers, which currently is occupied by Morgan Rogers, Cole Palmer wants to come into it, Phil Foden wants to come into it, Jude Bellingham wants to come into it, Grealish. They're not all going to go at the World Cup unless we get one of those things where they change World Cup squads to 30 because
I mean,
it's
you're
going
to
to be
have
too
to
hot.
look at that and go, Bellingham will probably come in. I think that Bellingham or Foden will go, and Grealish and who's the other
Cole
one?
Palmer.
You've got to take Cole Palmer,
Well,
haven't
then
you?
how many do you want?
So you take Cole Palmer and Bellingham and drop. Who'd you drop?
4 or 5 players for one position you've got. Now, you could argue that maybe we can fit one in on the left or fit one in on the right, but their ideal positions are in the middle. Grealish maybe cuts in off the left. Maybe that's an exception. But already we've got Gordon and Rashford who are down the left. It's
Gordon was great last night.
Grealish is going to have, despite the fact he's been playing well this season for Everton, he's still going to have to kick on quite a bit, I think.
I think so's Foden. I think so's Foden.
But he started the season well.
Yeah.
Also,
really interesting.
But I think, look, it is good that we've got a lot of places that people are fighting for. But, you know, I know you're a bit of a sceptic, Jeremy, about our chances of the World Cup, and I think it's fair enough.
I just get excited and I try not to, because all we do is screw it up at the last minute. I could have told you about the penalties. I'm the biggest footy fan in the world. I'm happy this weekend that those games are over. I love the World Cup. I put my flag up. I'll probably be arrested. I don't give a That's an interesting one, by the way. Cup happens and people put flags in their cars and everything. I don't want to get involved in politics. Are the police going to stop us and make us drag those banners out? Interesting one. But I want England to win, but I'm 60. It's always nearly, as if, just about not.
But we've got closer over recent times, which is something. You know, we are making progress.
Listen to yourself, man. We've got closer. Why can't we bloody well win one?
Well, maybe this will be the time. I do think it's going to be harder in the States because of the weather. We don't like hot weather. I was there in Japan in 2002 when we lost to Brazil, the hottest day I think I've ever been in my life.
Solar panels work in the States.
And we wilted. And that is one of the worries. So kick-off times could become an issue.
3 a.m. in the morning.
And where we play.
Are you going? Do you go?
Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah.
What a life it is. Just what?
Hard work working at the World Cup, Jeremy, honestly.
You're such... Look at you. There is no way, Custis, that you are selling that to me. Your face is belying the truth.
Look, it's a great event to be at. No doubt about it. Every World Cup's different.
Your boss is listening. When you were at the World Cup, do you spend the day, this is a really important question for you, it's not a lie detector, but like it, do you spend the day preparing for that evening show or lying on a sunbed drinking cocktails?
Well, you won't be able to be lying on the sunbed in America at, say, 10 o'clock in the morning because it'll be, 3 o'clock in the afternoon in England where we'll really be kicking into gear. So there'll be no downtime, Jeremy. It'll be work, 24/7, I can assure you.
After the game at Wembley at the weekend, Thomas Tuchel took aim at the fans and said it was too silent. Yesterday, they had a bit of fun with him. He loved it. But some of the papers are going, England fans aim X-rated rant at Thomas Tuchel. No, they didn't. I know you don't. They aimed it at Gary Neville, didn't they?
They did, because they don't think Gary Neville's being very patriotic at the moment. And to be honest, when he was an England player, you wondered...
I've seen the footage he didn't sing.
He didn't used to sing the national anthem. And... He's since a lot of things have come out about that group of players that they didn't get on, that they weren't. They denied it at the time, but they're all admitting it now that they had club rivalries and they never mixed. And the narrative now that we've discovered is that although they were a very talented group, they were a disparate group. They weren't a bunch.
But maybe that's where Tuchel has a point. And if what is true that's being said about Bellingham, super talent, but a bit of a big Charlie, I don't know. Maybe an honest bunch of pros who get on. Look at the Ryder Cup, bringing my favourite sport in. I mean, there is no way that the golfers in Europe over the last 20 years have been of a better standard than the American golfers, and yet they batter them every time because the spirit, the team spirit, you can't manufacture it. Luke Donald talked about it this time. He said, I think the Americans, they're manufacturing this. They're friends. They get on. They have each other's back. So maybe that's what they need in the England football team.
What we were talking about last night is that Bellingham, having had a bit of a shot across the bows, now comes back into a group where we're saying, look, this is a really good group. You can rejoin it, but don't think you're the main man and that you're going to boss the place. You're not. You've got to be part of this group. And I think he's had a bit of a shock, and I think he'll come back into it maybe looking at it with different eyes. And
will you be
wanting
happy to come on the show from the World Cup in between the sunbed and the cocktails?
Absolutely, Jeremy.
So your prediction for the World Cup? I know you hate doing this. Look at his face. He hates it. Do we win the World Cup? Do we win the World Cup 60 years after
There's
the last
48
one?
teams in this.
Do we win it?
Probably not.
Where do we get to?
Don't know. Haven't seen the draw. I don't know. It's ridiculous.
You consider politics, man?
You can't say that. It's impossible to say.
All right, let me ask you a question that you're answering. Will Cape Verde win the World Cup?
No. There you are. It's down to 47 teams now.
Will Watford be promoted from the Championship?
It's a bit of a struggle. They've got a bit of a long way to go, but you never know.
Who do you prefer, Luton or Watford?
I'm a big fan of Jack Wilshere, so I will let him. But as I said last night, I like Watford. Great community club.
Yeah.
I can't believe this crops up every time.
It's Ryan. He's obsessed with Watford. I'm a West Ham fan. Sean, thank you. So England have qualified. England fans taking to Thomas Tuchel. He's done what he said he was going to do, but now the hard graft becomes, right? And it'll be very interesting to see. When does the tournament start in the States?
June the 10th to 15th-ish time.
Amazing, what a life you have. I should have been a sports commentator, but I'd have been far too angry to do that. Thank you so much indeed. Sean Custis, of course, head of sport at The Sun, and Talk Sport Sunday mornings from 9 till
11.
9 till 11.
9 till 11 every Sunday
You've
morning.
never asked me to come on as a
myself
guest.
and Henry Winter.
Do you know who used to do the Sunday morning show on Talk Sport 10 years ago?
Was it? Are you going to tell me it was you?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we've moved on. Things are better these days, a more sharp edge.
Wow, right, Sean Custis, get out. 0344 499 1000. Let's take a couple of calls on the way to the news. Let's go to my favourite place in England, a great football team. We'll go to Luton. Michael, you're on Talk Drive. Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Good afternoon, JK. When Reform get into power, will our hypocrite friend Gav go and live in another country, or will he stay here and reap all the benefits?
This is really interesting. So Gav, if you're just tuning into the show, was a caller earlier who was very angry with me and very angry. Should we play? We got the Gav call. I'm going to play this to people. This is a guy who hates Reform and hates me. It's fine. Put him on. Let's have Gav again.
Are
you happy with the country you've got?
That's not my question.
Are you happy with the country you've got?
I'm not happy with the country that Reform would create, because you had a spokesman for Reform earlier.
You've just done it again. Are you happy with the country you've got?
Yes.
You are?
Yes.
So you're happy for old people to live in cold homes, yes?
Rhetoric, mate. That's just rhetoric. That's not how it is.
So do you know any old people who have had their heating allowance taken or not?
Reform.
Do you know any veterans who live on the streets? Do you know any veterans? It's just, to me, Michael, it's just complete... I don't know. It's just that establishment liberal left rubbish. There are old people losing their heating allowances. There are, without any shadow of a doubt, veterans on the street, waspy women let down, farmers having their land taken. It's a fact, isn't it, my friend?
Fully agree. Fully agree. It's just that these lefty liberals can't see the wood for the trees.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Michael in Luton. By the way, are you a Luton Town fan?
Seattle Seahawks.
You what?
I said Seattle Seahawks.
You support Seattle Seahawks?
Yeah.
Not Luton?
No, mate, not Luton, no.
Right, this is one of the most bizarre calls ever. I know where Seattle is, Jody. I might be... Jesus, if you could hear what I have to do. It's in America. I know Seattle is in America. It's where Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks got it on. Can I just point something out here, please? What happens on this show? Man from Luton, do you support Luton? Just to wind Ryan up, no Seattle Seahawks. Good luck in therapy. Roger, you have a minute and a half. You're a new caller. You're on Talk Drive. Good afternoon, sir. What can we do for you?
Good afternoon, Jeremy. I just wanted to have a chat quickly about the migrants.
Yes.
That problem is not going to go away very quickly at the moment. And there's been a couple of people that have come onto your different shows saying that something big is going to happen before December, because there's cells busy being developed. Somewhere along the line, someone has got to put their foot down. Okay, and this is going to sound harsh, what I'm going to say now, is get those hangars that aren't being used at different Air Force bases, etc., etc. Get them bob wired up, etc., etc., And at some stage, at 3 o'clock in the morning, make sure that you got all the troops out at all the different hotels and HMOs. Make sure that you got a proper checklist. If it's possible that home...
Mate, I don't mean to be rude. I'm really struggling to hear you, and I haven't got much time. What? Just very quickly, what are you trying to say? Not being rude.
Round up all the migrants as soon as possible and get them into areas where they can be properly scrutinised.
Yeah.
And send them out.
Roger, a lot of people will say that stuff like that is over the top. I'm in agreement with you. I don't think they should be allowed into this country. I think we need to process them, put them in detention centres, and those detention centres should not be, camps of brilliance. They should show people how hard it is. I think the pull is too great. We appreciate your call, all of your calls. More coming up. 0344 499 1000. The news at 6 is next on Talk Drive.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
My friends, 3 minutes past 6 into the final hour of drive time for Wednesday. Kev O'Sullivan here with his political asylum, and Harry Cole is here tonight with Harry Saves the West from 10 o'clock. If you want to be on in the next hour, 03... Why did I clap my hands? 0344 499 1000 is the only number you need. You can send a voice note about anything you want to talk about, to be perfectly honest. I've got a juicy pear here. I haven't eaten forever. I'm now on the fruit. I don't know why. It's going to give me the... Anyway. 0344 499 1000 on the WhatsApp. You can also send a text Delighted to get them from you. 87222. Start your message with the word talk. Good afternoon to Molly. She says, Jez, don't ever say you feel sorry for Starmer again. There's a reason why he's the most hated man in this country. I know, Moles. It's like, just do one now, mate. I'm done with it. Forget Starmer. It's Georgia Maloney when Trump turns his back. That was priceless. Absolutely. Jez, keep showing that Starmer put down. It's so funny. It cheers me up. Right, play it again. They're demanding it. I'll eat my pear. Go on, play it again. Go on, crack on. Take me off camera. I'm having a pear. Can't you...
United Kingdom. Where's United Kingdom? Where's my friend? Where? Come here. Is everything going good?
Very good.
It's very nice that you're here. These people all came in like 20-minute notice, and I think it's fantastic. And we have so many others, and just so many others. And
Le Royaume-Uni, ne point, the United Kingdom, just humiliating. If you haven't seen it already, just honest to God, go online. It's utterly hysterical. It's like a little schoolboy not winning a prize. Keep showing it. We have done, Chris. Bob, or even Rob. Jez, can you stop being so negative about reform? Constantly looking to find cracks in their agenda and chances of winning. They will win the next election, believe me. Can you not talk them up instead of down? Fed up of it. Rich in London, love it. Love a bit of cynicism. Don't try that in America, by the way. They don't get it. David, I'm not sure I can cope with 3 years and 8 months of Brit-hating Labour live streaming the collapse of this country. Reform need to win the next general election so they can try and make Britain great again. David's in the Cotswolds. Hello to Ian in Somerset. All right. So my parents used to live, but they obviously don't live there anymore because... you've guessed it, they're dead. Jez, I'm confused by that poll suggesting a massive Reform UK win. I'm only confused as to how on earth, in the name of the sweet Lord, Labour could keep 70 seats. Who's voting for them? Dennis, afternoon, Jez. I think we can all be reasonably sure that Happy Clappy Gav was in tears when Kamala Harris lost last year. He is the epitome, this is the bloke that phoned up earlier, he's right wound you up. He is the epitome of a frenzied lefty who can't understand how anyone can possibly disagree with him because he is on the right side of things. I'm not a Reform member because of Nigel Farage, but because I believe they have the policies, note plural, to save our country. Stuart Brown. Jeremy, Britain is patriotic. Is going patriotic, thank God, and there's nothing funnier than hearing the anti-British lefties melting down because the intelligent people have rejected them and their terrible, terrible, terrible government. Come on, Nigel, and reform. Lisa Price, good afternoon, Jez. I suppose it's OK for the likes of Clarkson to not be concerned about immigration because he lives in the Cotswolds where it's migrant-free. See, there's an interesting point, and Jeremy Clarkson, I know him, I like him, he was in The Sun today saying, do reform have anything more than immigration? But that's very true. A lot of these politicians, a lot of people have no, myself included, I'm being completely honest, right? I don't know what it's like to have migrants next door. I mean, think of those people in Epping, those mothers who were absolutely castigated by Starmer and the ilk, saying, oh, you know, you're far right. No, they were trying to protect their teenage daughters because there was a migrant hotel next to a school of teenage boys and girls, and one of the girls was sexually assaulted. If you were a parent, you would do your best to protect. Sharon says, our nation needs Nigel now. You're fabulous, Jez. Great show as ever. Don't listen to him. Gav the caller wins Plank of the Week. That Gav, idiot. Well done for asking. Oh, you're going to break my heart now. Oh. Laura Donovan. That bloke, well done for asking for the button to be pressed and cutting him off. James Well will be proud of him, be looking down. God bless him. God rest his soul. JW would have loved that. Can you imagine Whaley then? Get off. Brilliant. Miss him. How about good news? England qualify for the World Cup. How many players do you think will be taking the knee this weekend? Oh, don't start me on that one. Oh, Tim from Brighton. Brighton? We love you, Jez. Reform for next government. End of. Cheers. Great show. Somebody in Brighton supporting reform. Isn't that like the green centre of the world? Good on you, Tim. Don't go outside the front door. Pete the Mole. Farage will be my Prime Minister because the current one certainly is not. How the lefty fool got really nasty, says Pete, when anybody threatened him with a question. Starmer has been absolutely horrible and doesn't surprise me, has mythomania. He's absolutely insane and shouldn't be Prime Minister. We need a snap election. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, this morning on Breakfast, MG decided he'd done a bit of work and he decided that Keir Starmer has mythomania, which is basically, well, it shows itself as an illness where you lie permanently and you don't even know why you lie. If you believe... what we're going to play you? Well, this is Mike Graham working out on Breakfast, OK, what's wrong with Keir Starmer. Have a listen, have a watch.
Damien from Behind the Glass has come up with an even better definition, I think, where apparently it's called mythomania. Compulsive lying, a persistent and uncontrollable urge to lie, going beyond occasional fibbing or social lies. Lying often involves creating intricate and dramatic, sometimes unbelievable tales about one's past achievements or experiences. Like, for example, saying, we worked very well behind the scenes to get the peace deal done. So Keir Starmer suffers from mythomania. We've finally solved the problem.
There you have it, 6:10, mythomania. Do you think Starmer's got mythomania? 87222. Start your message with the word talk. To the phone lines, to the beautiful Monmouthshire coastline. Chris, welcome to Drive. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Hey, Jeremy, how are you doing?
Well, I'm all right, you know. Apparently Starmer's got mythomania. Have you heard that?
Not a brief idea, but one of the reasons I was ringing in, apart from it's yourself and the show that you've got, what people don't seem to be realising, whatever side you go for, whatever the politician, whoever it is, which one's going to tell the truth and which one's going to follow through with it. Because if you look at history, none of them tell the truth, none of them give a straight answer. The amount of times I see it, they get asked a question and it's as simple as yes or no, but there's always a long-winded speech behind it. You know, and why are we not talking about the important things? Why are these people not talking about the important things? Obviously, immigration is one of the big ones. Starmer, you look at that, absolute waste of time. But we've got a country that's on its knees. We've got the elderly that have got to choose between heating and eating. They've worked all their lives, and after, say, they lose their partner of 40, 50 years, they've then got to sell the house.
Well, hold on 1 second. So, I agree with you. Earlier on, we had a call from a guy called Gav, and I challenged him on that. This is a man, and I want to play the call, because people tuning in now won't believe this. This is a guy who says that only talk, CBeebies and the far-right press would support reform. The man's a far-right thug and there's no problems in this country. This is Gav from earlier, peeps. Have a listen. Are you happy with the country you've got?
That's not my question.
Are you happy with the country you've got?
I'm not happy with the country that reform would create, because you had a spokesman for reform earlier.
You've just done it again. Are you happy with the country you've got?
Yes.
You are?
Yes.
So you're happy for old people to live in cold homes, yes?
Rhetoric, mate. That's just rhetoric. That's not how it is.
So do you know any old people who have had their heating allowance taken or not?
Reform.
Do you know any veterans who live on the streets? Do you know any veterans? That's the biggest challenge, Chris, in Monmouthshire, is convincing those liberal lefties who actually believe they know everything that the reality of what Nigel Farage and other parties are saying is actually true. And as you said, this country is on its knees and we need to face up to it, don't we?
Immigration has got to be sorted. It's going to. The country's not far off ruined as it is. So we sort immigration. That's got to be done. We got a national health. My partner is a midwife for the National Health Service. Some of the stuff she sees as a midwife, some of the stuff she puts up with, that doesn't match the wage. They should be on a damn site more. The porters should be on a damn site more. The cleaners should be on more. They're not. You know, with some of the money we put into other things is crazy. You mentioned there, you know, we've got ex-soldiers that there's no housing. We've got the suicide rate in young men through parental alienation because of corrupt family courts. We've got a corrupt policing system. There's all these important issues, but no one addresses it directly. And if it is mentioned, how often and what have we seen in the past where they followed through and they've actually done something with it? Because they don't. So really, what's everyone arguing about? Because when you boil it down, are any of them going to do and follow through with what they've said they're going to do?
Do you think that do you think that, I'm not just using him, it could be the man from the Greens. Do you think that somebody like Farage, who's never had power, should be given the chance to prove that he could tell the truth and do it? Or do you think people's belief in all politics has eroded so dramatically as this country has gone so steadily backwards? What's your view?
I think he should be given an opportunity. You know, someone's got to do the job, but are they going to do it as well as they say they're going to? Are they going to follow through with what they're sort of promising us? And like you said, he hasn't had the power. Let's give him the opportunity. But if I was a betting man, and where are you going to put your money? I wouldn't put it on that everything that's been said is going to play off. It's not. And you know, it's politicians through and through, and everyone's got different views, but you come down to it, a lot of people don't like Donald Trump. I've been a Trump-maniac for a long time. probably 20 years. But we need someone with his mentality to come in and say, look, immigration, I want it dealt with. I've got a 16-year-old daughter. I've got my soon-to-be boys that are going to be 10 years old. I want them safe in, tomorrow, the following week, the following month, in 10, 15, 20 years' time when I'm not here. I want them safe. I want them to be able to walk the streets. I want them to be able to get on the housing ladder. I want them to have a healthcare system that can look after them if it's needed. These are the priorities. And like I said, someone has to get this sorted. Do you know what I mean?
Couldn't agree more. Listen, you speak sense. And people like Gavin, critics, and I get that, will say he's not the man. Maybe he's not. But for me, the two-party system, them in, them out, them in, them out, I think that's smashed forever. And I will keep saying it till they drag me out this bloody studio. I think the British people have woken up to the fact that their voices can be heard. Thank you, Chris. 6:15. We're live across the UK. Hello to Steve Burnley. I very much doubt, this is on the back of the news earlier. Ed Miliband approves Britain's biggest solar farm. I don't know if you heard this, peeps. Ed's strange millipede has approved a solar farm covering the size of 2,000 football pitches, prime farmland. Tilbridge Solar Farm near Gainsborough, Lincolnshire. He's approved it today. It's costing billions. Once operational, this will shock you. Do you know how many houses this will provide electricity for? 300,000. That's not much, is it? Oh, only, by the way, it's renewable electricity. Only, of course, if it's sunny. So for 6 months a year, those 300,000 people are going to be freezing cold, or we'll have to import it and their bills will go through the roof. Steve Burnley says, Jezra, I very much doubt that 99% of the MPs who've sanctioned this new solar farm here in Lincolnshire have a bloody clue where Lincolnshire is, so long as it's not in their backyard. Couldn't agree more. Margaret, she's in North... I don't know why I've done that. She's in North Yorkshire. Hi, Jez. 300,000 houses get electricity, possibly courtesy of Millibrain. What about the loss of farmland and the millions and millions in our country also need power? Now he's shutting down traditional sources of power. We can't afford his hike in charges. He is a living nightmare and needs to resign and learn how to eat a butty. Don't start. Stuart Brown, good afternoon, Jeremy. Very posh. I don't know about you, but I'm so happy that all the smug, arrogant, useless MPs in the Tory party in this pathetic Labour government are now starting to realise that the fantastic, patriotic people of Great Britain have had it completely with them and that they're all going to be wiped off the face of this earth soon enough. I'm with you on that. I do think it's going to happen. Adam, love the show, new listener here. How many scandals does Starmer and this shambles of a government get? Profumo took down Macmillan with one scandal. These jokers have had more than a box of cats. More than a box of cats. Ryan, by the way, I should bring in my producer here. Happy Ryan is on his own for 5 days. His wife's gone away. He's on his own with his cat. And this morning, he literally said to me on the phone, "Can you hear my pussy?" That's what he said to me. That's what I have to deal with. Jeremy, if the Deputy National Security Advisor acted alone... Oh, yes, this is Jenny in Bicester. We did that already. Hello to Hayley in Surrey. That clip you keep showing with Starmer and Donald Trump is just getting funnier every time I see it. I'm literally crying with laughter, and I've seen it loads. Please keep up the good work. Hello to Jason in Pompey. Not in Pompeii, in Pompey. So our Prime Minister, the barrister and former Chief Prosecutor, seems to have forgotten it's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. He's not a leader, he's a lawyer, a quizzling, vacuous little man. And finally, have Harry and Meghan got the same thing as Starmer, mythomania? I think they might have, because they lie the whole time as well. Oh, Jez, this sounds like something out of Gavin and Stacey. Oi, Jez, is it? My missus just heard Gav. Her response, a proper Cockney one. Who that merchant shouting at Jezza? No idea. Update. Gav has called back to say he needs an apology from you because he didn't call anyone a fascist. All right, if you didn't call anyone a fascist, Gav, I apologise. But I will say this, and I will repeat to you, Gavin, I'm happy to have you back on. You have to understand that people who have lost their heating allowance, veterans who have fought for this country and lost their homes, waspy women who were promised to get that pensional amount, farmers who have had their farms passed down for years, feel very, very let down by this government who have made promises and lied. So I'll be honest to you. I get that you might think, as others do, that if Farage is promising stuff, it won't happen, or the Tories are promising stuff. And I also, because I touched upon it before you came on, I absolutely understand that the Reform Party need to fill in the gaps. But I would say that you are living... If you're telling me, Gav, this is my opinion, you've had yours, that you're happy with this country and you think you speak for millions of people who patently are, I would respectfully suggest go and meet some of them and talk to them and get yourself an angle on that. But it's not up to me. John's a new caller. He's in Cumbria. John, you're on Talk Drive. Good afternoon.
Hiya, Jeremy. Good to speak to you. Excellent show, excellent channel. Brilliant, thanks. I love the way you dealt with that gentleman earlier on. That was
Listen, I just mentioned him there. I'm happy to have him on, but I don't believe that the majority of people in this country are happy with the road down which we've been going. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally agree with you. I was more annoyed with the way that he just tried to talk over you the whole time, but there we go. I've just got a couple of things, really. The first one is to do with this Afghan, Mr. Khan.
No, this is Yazil Khan. I just need to refresh people. This is the guy yesterday who was found guilty of... He'd put a post, didn't he, right, on TikTok saying, I'm going to pop Nigel Farage, came to England to do it. He was arrested. He was given 5 years in prison. All we said when we played that was, of course, he'll be out within 2.5 years and then he'll be back on the street. Surely he should be deported. Nigel said that as well, to be fair.
Yeah, no, I get your point. Totally hear what you're saying there. I mean, I personally, I'm a bit of a lone voice in the wilderness here. I personally think that he should serve his jail term. The only caveat being, I would rather it was the full term and he didn't get any privileges. But the point there is that if we send him back to wherever he came from, first of all, France isn't going to want him. They're not going to be interested. So he'll have to go back to Afghanistan. He'll just be walking the streets. He'll be...
Well, I'd throw him in jail in Afghanistan. I'd make sure that my government had a returns agreement with all of these countries, including Afghanistan. And I'd send him back and make him spend his time in a prison in Afghanistan, only because, if I'm honest, John, I would imagine that the privileges that you talked about and the general ambience of a British prison is slightly greater than Afghanistan. But I get the people who say he's committed the crime here, but I'm not sure... I mean, one of the major issues I think that we've got as a country is our jails are full of foreign criminals. And I think, oh, sorry, Gav, yes, that's a Nigel policy. He wants to deport all foreign criminals to free up space so that people who commit crime and burgle shops can actually go to jail rather than being let off with a slap on the wrist. Sorry, I just remembered a piece of policy. Sorry, John, carry on.
No, that's all right. No, I totally agree with that. The only thing is that the key to that is what you just said, the returns agreement and the guarantee, if you like, that they're going to be put in jail. And I don't think that exists with Afghanistan at the moment. So in the meantime, sadly, I think that we need to foot the bill and make sure he serves his blinking time. It's not something I feel that he can get away with, to be honest. And maybe it might just act as a slight deterrent to all the other people who feel they can post that sort of thing on TikTok.
Completely agree with you. You said two things. One other?
Yeah, the other one was to do with getting shot of our immigrants. There seems to be, I haven't verified this, so I'll be honest with you now, but there seems to be about 10 countries within the EU who have now started to deport and or prevent immigrants coming into their countries. They're all members of the EU. They've all basically thumbed their nose over the ECHR. And they seem to be successful in deportations, including the revocation of some citizenship allowances. And I just ask myself, why does our government continually say, we can't do this, it's all down to the ECHR?
Well, you know, my answer to that is, and I used to sit here and absolutely extol the virtues of Boris Johnson, but this is not just Starmer. I know 60,000 have come in. This happened under the Tories. I was always told as a kid, where there's a will, there's a way. I do not understand how politicians for the last however many years have turned their eyes away from something that is patently a problem. That, I mean, I just think it's swept under the carpet. I think it's been swept under the carpet like the grooming gangs. I think it's, again, not just Starmer. I think it's a disgrace what's happened with the grooming gangs, that this has not been dealt with. We are supposed to be a country that should be able to control its borders and control, crime. I mean, look at the police. The police, you wouldn't want to be a policeman or woman nowadays. You don't have any power. And there was the thing in the news, bloke shot a criminal coming at him with a gun and he's probably going to go on trial. I just think I said it yesterday, I think, John, we're higgledy-piggledy in this country now. I think that we concentrate on offering so much to those who shouldn't get anything and very little to those that do. So, but listen, mate, we could drone on all night. Really good to have you on. New caller. Appreciate you making it talk. 6:23, live across the UK. Kev is here at 7 o'clock. Harry Cole from 10 and Mike back tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock with Morning Glory. That's how we line up on Talk.
A group of women made a citizen's arrest. The person that they arrested was a man by the name of Mark Thurston, who is CEO of Anglian Water. These women, who are all part of this organisation called Citizens Arrest, surrounded him, held hands so that he couldn't escape. They're accusing him of up to 3 counts of public nuisance, focusing on environmental damage, illegal sewage spills, which pose a risk to the public's access to clean water, their failure to maintain equipment which leads to the spills, and mismanagement of funds following bill increases and Thurston's bonus ban.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
6:26, we're live across the United Kingdom. Good God, it's been another day. Britain's lost control of its borders, said Shabana Mahmood. You joking? Yeah, absolutely. Reform on track for a landslide majority. Not if you're other people who think there isn't enough meat on the bone. Absolutely your entitled opinion. China spy trial chaos. Starmer in the Commons saying, yes, I'm going to release all the witness statements, which we think is going to end up with him falling right in a big bag of poo. We love the next section. We always do it because there's always a story. Ladies and gentlemen, the host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered. Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered, hello.
Hi, JK. Yeah, today's been a wild day in the royal watching community.
Oh, my God. Well, let's. I want to start. Can I start with the Giuffre book and get to Harry and Meghan at the end? Or do you... Well, actually, you pick. You're in charge. It's your channel. What would you like me to do? I'll be your pool boy.
Well, let's talk about this Sun's amazing exclusive. Prince Andrew, according to Virginia's new book, what he felt like he was entitled to.
Can we just say, so Virginia Giuffre was the girl who was apparently, you know, trafficked out to Epstein's Island, always alleged that she had sex with Prince Andrew, something that he vehemently denied. But of course we had that unedifying Newsnight video interview, and then he paid her £11 million, and everybody went, well, that means that you're guilty. She died some months ago, and yet her book, what's it called, the book?
The book is called, she wrote it in April. How am I spacing? It's like Lost Girl, or I'm going to look it up. It's something similar to that, but I'm so sorry that I'm spacing on the title of it.
No, I don't know either, and Ryan's in the toilet where he always is. But in the book being serialised in The Sun tomorrow, one of the accusations from Virginia Giuffre that Prince Andrew was entitled and saw having sex with his abuse accuser Giuffre as his birthright. Wow.
Yes. Well, I think one of the most... she goes into 3 separate occasions in this book where she claims she was trafficked to have sex with Andrew. And I think, disturbingly, one of the worst parts for me is she tells a story about Ghislaine Maxwell allegedly praising her the morning after their first encounter, saying, you did well, the prince had fun. I hate that language because that language reminds me of the email that Prince Andrew, you know, we've seen in the last few days that Prince Andrew sent Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, it's just that the language is very similar, like having fun, playing. I mean, these are grown people dealing with, in some cases, young teenage girls.
I actually have the name, darling. It's Nobody's Girl, a memoir of surviving abuse and fighting for justice. Now, it is not for me. I mean, you might have a stronger opinion. I've made my feelings about Andrew very well known, and any young person put in that position and their lives are tainted forever. We've heard different sides to this story, but my question is, what did she say? It was also expected to claim the Duke said thank you in a clipped British accent after the alleged encounter. Do we know how old she was?
17 at during the first encounter, allegedly.
Your bit about Ghislaine Maxwell, you did well. The prince had fun. Jesus. I know. Sick. In terms of you and I and the way that we talk, always honest and candid with each other, I know that people always say, oh, he went. Isn't it time that this disgrace of a man literally was thrown to the wolves by his brother? You're going to tell me he won't do that because of his late mother, but how much more disgust and disgrace can he bring to the royal family? Those pictures, weren't there, at the Duchess of Kent's funeral a couple of weeks ago? No doubt Prince William, when he becomes king, will completely throw him out of the royal firm. But I'm surprised that Charles doesn't. I mean, enough is enough, isn't it?
Well, I'm going to, you know, everything I say to you, I want you to know is coming from a place of hearing whispers that Prince Andrew's mental health is struggling through all of this. You know, so I dance around certain things because I'm cautious of that, because I do believe that to be true. I trust my sources that say this is, you know, that he's unraveling over all of this, that it just continues.
I would only say, and I'm not, you know me, we talk honestly, and I didn't know the woman and I don't know who I believe, but what about Virginia Giuffre's mental stability in the last moments? I don't know.
No, absolutely. And actions have consequences, but I just would never want to say something or rile something up that would cause him any more harm. No. So I want to say coming from that place. What I will say is, what could you potentially be unleashing if you cut Prince Andrew and Fergie off? How many books can they write? How many secrets can they sell? If you think Harry and Meghan are bad, wait until Prince Andrew and Fergie need a lifeline, and they go to publishers and they go to Netflix and they go to whoever for a quick buck.
Do you think they do that?
I do think that if they
push came to shove,
lost their home, if they lost their families, what do you have left? I mean, Harry and Meghan are greedy, but I also see their actions as an act of desperation. And so I mean, and you know what? Fergie has written books. It's why Diana wasn't talking to her at the end of her life, because Fergie wrote about Diana's shoes giving her warts. So we know they're not above selling secrets. And so I say to you, what more can they do? If they strip him of their titles, of his remaining titles, then that is months, if not years, of those headlines.
What about Celebrity Big Brother?
Yes, I can see them doing that.
I mean, I literally could see that. I mean, I make that point actually a serious point. I completely agree with you. And I used to say when we were talking about this that when I said it all the time to you, he must have so much that he could spill, and a desperate person will resort to desperate things, and he is an entitled human being, and I suspect that if the gravy train finally ground to a halt and went into reverse, you know, they would be concerned. As to the impact of everything, yeah, I've heard that many times, and there's lots of people. The only thing I would say and I don't want to be like what you said as well, but you do wonder why people always roll that out, certain people, when the going gets really tough. You know, that's all I would say. You know, when he was doing Newsnight, was he impacted to the fact that his mental health, maybe the walls are closing in, the truth is coming home to roost, and it's very difficult to deal with. But it'll be an interesting...
Speaking of Newsnight, we catch him in a lie blatantly in Newsnight when he says, "I've completely cut Jeffrey Epstein off." Well, here's your digital footprint that says otherwise. And if he's capable of lying about this, what else is he capable of lying about?
Let's be honest, why did you pay her $11 million? I can categorically tell you with my hand on my heart that if somebody accused me of something and deep in my heart and soul I knew that that was a fabricated thing, I would not be paying them $11 million. I go bankrupt and lose everything to prove that my word was my bond. That's it.
Well, to be fair, he did say prior to that payment that he was going to fight it in a court of law, and we believe that the Queen didn't want a member of the royal family sitting in a witness box.
Oh, bless her. Okay, the other main news story, I mean, how can we get away without talking about today, or rather yesterday, Meghan Markle
Well, wait. That's yesterday's news, JK. Today, she won a gold award in the Business People and Entrepreneurs Shaping Culture category of the Signal Awards, which aims to recognize meaningful podcasts. Another award for Meghan.
Sorry, can we just let's just slow this down, right? Just repeat the award that numpty won today. Read it to me. What did you say? What's it called?
Business People. Yeah. AKA NEPA wives, Business People and Entrepreneurs Shaping Culture for having a meaningful podcast is what this award is for.
Jesus. Yesterday, which I was on, that today just highlights more. compared herself to the Obamas as she tried to put a positive spin on her Netflix woe. Another jab at the royal family. This is Meghan Sparkle. Have a listen.
My husband and I were in an overall deal with Netflix, and then not dissimilar to Higher Ground and the Obamas deal. Once that had come to its term, the extension of it, which was such an incredible sign of the strength of our partnership, was now being in a first look deal, which is also exciting because it gives us flexibility to go to our partners first, and then at the same time to be able to shop content that might not be the right fit for Netflix but has a home somewhere else.
I know we do this a lot. I mean, I used to sit here and say, God, she's a piece of work, isn't she? She's actually good, isn't she? I mean, she's not good. No, listen, not... She whether she's deranged, delusional, or has mythomania, actually, like Mike Graham said about Keir Starmer. I mean, she goes out there and fronts it out. And the sort of, the wets, the lefties, the sort of, you know, the people who will always be, they'll abort that. I mean, it's blatantly true that she's not telling, I mean, you can see she's not telling the truth, but that woman sat there in awe of her that's interviewing her, and people in those audience go, oh my God, she's just amazing. Why doesn't the whole world see her for what she is, which is a liar?
Meghan Markle, MD, the spin doctor, we've all been waiting for. Yeah, because what she's asked right there is, can we expect a season 3 from your Netflix show? And she physically squirms in her chair, tries to divert attention and go, oh, well, I've got a Christmas special coming out. We realize that season 3 is likely not on the horizon. Comparing herself to the Obamas, yeah, I mean, you could tell that she practiced that answer over and over and over
in
again.
the mirror.
Through the delivery. But no, I mean, it's a demotion. It was a demotion. And I can also tell that she's read Girl Boss for Dummies or some sort of entrepreneurial book, and she just highlights key words like Q4 and why she I lost count of how many times she says learns. Girl, just say you learned something. She's always like, well,
Girl, just say you learned something. I love that. I have to go, not because I want to, because I could talk to you forever. Prince Andrew, I think you make really salient points. I just think people are fed up to the back teeth. And as for Meghan, well, just wait till William's king. It's all gone. It's all gone. Kinsey, thank you so much indeed for joining us. We love it, Kinsey Schofield. Just heard, actually, that our guest who was supposed to be on at 6, who was tied up in business in the House of Commons, now free. Next, Tom Tugendhat, former Minister for Security, Conservative MP for Tunbridge. Next on Talk Drive.
the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
One of the main news stories today, of course, has been what it's been going on for weeks, rumbling, the Chinese spy trial chaos. Starmer has announced that he will, basically today, was pushed in the Commons by Kemi Badenoch. There's two guys, Christopher Berry, Christopher Chase, worked within the Commons. It was heavily proven, or believed to be able to be proved, that these guys were spying for the Chinese. We were told the old government had it all ready to go. They lost power. The new government were accused earlier this week by the CPS of not coming out with what they need, not giving the information. They've had to drop the case. The guys get away with it. Everybody's up in uproar, and people are saying, what? This government prefers a trade agreement with China than dealing with the difference between right and wrong, i.e. spying. Many, many people like Siri and Duncan Smith have been saying for months and years the Chinese are a concern. Before we speak to Tom Tugendhat, former Security Minister, this was Kemi Badenoch grilling Starmer. Watch his response. One bleeding word. This is the Commons earlier.
On Monday, the Security Minister repeatedly told the House that ministers did not take decisions, that it was the Deputy National Security Advisor who had full freedom. Is the government seriously saying that only one man, the Deputy National Security Advisor, had anything to do with this failure? Is he seriously saying that the Deputy did not discuss with the National Security Advisor, did not discuss with the Home Secretary or with anyone in Downing Street? Is the Prime Minister seriously saying that?
Yes.
Wow. Tom Tugendhat, former Security Minister, Cabinet Minister. Very good evening. Thank you for your time, sir. How are you?
Jeremy, I'm really well. Look, thanks for being flexible. I'm so sorry I've messed you around today and yesterday.
Don't worry.
I apologise.
I'm going to put you straight on here. As a cabinet minister at the time, the accusation or the squirming from this lying prime minister that we seem to have is that we can't give this info. It's not our fault. The Tories didn't do it. It's all the Tories. The CPS are saying that's rubbish. The CPS are saying all you've got to do is provide that information and we could have prosecuted these guys. You were in the cabinet. What's the truth about this story, Tom?
So look, here's the problem with Keir's argument, right? If it was not the right law, then the Director of Public Prosecutions has basically arrested somebody for no reason at all. Now, Keir Starmer's not saying that, is he? He's sort of half accusing these guys of spying, and he's half saying that it was somebody else's fault they weren't prosecuted. Mate, a bad workman blames their tools, and all he's doing is he's throwing people under the bus to try and save his skin, and it's really ugly, frankly. You know, Matt Collins is a civil servant I worked with a bit. Is he, you know, he's a perfectly decent guy. He's worked for our country
for 20,
This is the
Deputy National Security Advisor, and as Kemi Badenoch, in probably her best performance I've seen in the Commons today, says, so you're seriously telling us that a civil servant, a career civil servant, who is apparently the Deputy National Security Advisor, didn't ask Jonathan Poole, because that's apparently how he wants to be called now, Jonathan Powell. Jonathan Powell didn't mention it to the Home Secretary. The Home Secretary didn't mention it to the Prime Minister. No bugger knew, just one career civil servant. To me, tell me if I'm wrong, he's got Mr. Scapegoat written all over himself, this poor bloke.
Jeremy, first of all, I agree with you. I think it does sound like a scapegoat. But let's pretend, just for a second, let's pretend he's telling the truth. OK, so you're honestly telling me that the most important national security trial of your watch at this time can collapse because a single civil servant didn't do their job properly? That sparks incompetence allegations, doesn't it? Now, in former cases of this importance, the Attorney General has prosecuted those cases. The Attorney General has personally been the government's lawyer in court. They haven't left it up to somebody else. They've actually done it themselves. Right, and we've seen this over many, many years, by the way, Labour and Conservative, so it's not a political point. But if it's a really big case, then the AG has done it themselves. This AG, this Attorney General, hasn't done it. And in fact, he not only hasn't done it, he clearly has absolutely no idea what's going on in it. Nor does the Prime Minister, nor does anybody else. So, OK, maybe he's not a scapegoat. Maybe he's guilty. Well, in that case, you're incompetent. And if you're not incompetent, then you're just scapegoating. So take your pick. You know, I don't know what they've done, but they've really messed up.
We talked the other day at James's funeral, and I was saying to you, in all of your time, and I'm 60, everybody knows that, and you lot were a debacle at the end, you know that. the British public would have voted, I think, 2 buckets in. I don't think the Labour Party won the election. I think the British people stopped listening, and your challenge now is to get the British people to listen to you
Jeremy,
again.
You know I'm not going to disagree with you on much.
No, but what I'm saying is I wanted... not in my wildest nightmares, Tom, could have I believed how utterly incompetent this lot are. And when it started with free suits and glasses, fine. When it went on to the woman who was planning the first 100 days, didn't last 100 days. When you think of Mandelson and Rayner, when you think of the humiliation the other day on the international stage, when you think, as I tried to say to that angry caller, you've had to backtrack, you've lied to waspy women, to pensioners, to army veterans, to farmers. It is like the Titanic, and I genuinely thought today when he said, I will publish all the information, I thought to myself, I don't believe he's got any... I believe they've set him up on that. I think the Labour Party are looking at a point of throwing Keir Starmer under the bus because they know he's a complete bloody liability. Just my opinion.
So it's funny you should say that, actually. I was talking to somebody I know in the Labour Party who was saying that that's exactly what the gossip in their own benches is, that actually Keir Starmer is being set up by the cabinet or by his official, or whatever it is, by the party to fail. Now, I don't know. I mean, the Labour Party is so dysfunctional. I don't believe they could organise that conspiracy even if they tried. But the idea that this is in any way competent is just rubbish. It's just not. And I'm not going to lie to you, Jeremy. There were a lot of issues at the end that I disagreed with, and I was pretty hostile to the government's decisions over COVID. I'm not very in favour of lockdowns. There was a whole series of things where I was not exactly as one with Boris or Rishi, and frankly, I'm not going to lie to you, a lot of things went wrong, but there were some things we got right. I brought in the new National Security Act, right? It toughens the ability to protect this country. It makes a huge difference in those sort of areas. And to see this level of incompetence is really depressing because, like you, Jeremy, of course I want a Conservative government, right? Of course I want a government that, lowers taxes and does all those sort of things. But most importantly, I want a government that will protect Britain. And what this has done is it's basically advertised, not just to China, by the way, but to Russia, Iran, anybody else, right? That not only can you spy on Parliament and the government, but you've got to assume those are the toughest targets, right? So any business, any university, any scientist, anybody who develops an idea, you've got to assume that Britain's open for stealing.
Absolutely.
Well, that's completely unacceptable.
And it isn't.
It's also not true. But because people will believe it, they'll try it, and so they'll be a bit more
Perception
successful.
is reality, and the point that you're making so readily is, he seemed very happy to run off abroad early in his premiership, but I've been screaming at him to come home and deal with these issues. But for me, even lower than that, and I know everybody made a big thing out of it, he was utterly humiliated on the international stage the other day. He looked like a kid who'd not been given the book voucher at Prize Living, and we all laugh, right? Donald Trump did one to him and Macron, and I've got loads of friends in America, and they all say the same thing. What's happened to your country? What's happened to free speech? What's happened to London? What's happened? I find myself genuinely embarrassed on a daily basis, Tom.
But Jeremy, look, here's the thing. I mean, you and I can take the mickey out of Keir Starmer till the cows come home. Of course we can, right? I mean, it's not exactly a challenge. And in many ways, you and I would actually rather enjoy it, and we did a bit of it at James's funeral, as you rightly remember. Sorry, we're going to ignore that one, by the way. That's just that one doesn't matter. Absolutely. The reality is, though, that we both want the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom to be respected.
Absolutely.
Whichever party, whoever they happen to be, I want the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom to be the kind of person who walks into a room and everybody goes, "All right, it's a serious player." Right? That's somebody who can represent us, who can get us a good trade deal, who can, persuade our enemies not to attack, persuade our friends that we're great allies, whatever it is. That's the kind of person I want. That's not what we're getting.
No.
We're getting this sort of chaos and sort of bizarre, sort of vacuous human rights language that doesn't really mean anything. It's just really weird. It's like a government of a blancmange. I mean, it's,
Now, listen, you've been amazing. I have to move on, but I know how busy you are, and I know how difficult it's been, so we thank you enormously.
No. It's always lovely to see you, and I'm sorry I've been so difficult.
No,
it's not
you haven't. We'll see you very soon for a drink. Excellent. Tom Tugendhat, former Minister for Security, Conservative MP for Dunbridge. Thank you. That's Talk Drive. What is it, 9 minutes to 6? Still got to do the Sun tomorrow. We're next.
group of women made a citizen's arrest. The person that they arrested was a man by the name of Mark Thurston, who is CEO of Anglian Water. These women, who are all part of this organisation called Citizens Arrest, surrounded him, held hands so that he couldn't escape. They're accusing him of up to 3 counts of public nuisance, focusing on environmental damage, illegal sewage spills, which pose a risk to the public's access to clean water, their failure to maintain equipment which leads to the spills, and mismanagement of funds following bill increases and Thurston's bonus ban.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
5 to 7, time to put in my favourite part of the day. What's in the sun tomorrow? William Barker, as christened, but Will to his mates. How are you, my friend?
Not too bad, and you?
The big story, we covered it with Kinsey. You sort of serialised Virginia Giuffre's biography from Beyond the Grave.
Yes.
This is Nobody's Girl.
It's not an official serialisation. We've had sight of the book,
right,
which is coming out next week.
OK.
I think it is being serialised in other places by the People and Vanity Fair and places like that. But we've had a look at some of the sections that probably Prince Andrew wouldn't want us to see, the bits that involve him, and it's pretty bad reading for him, really.
It
is. She describes him as entitled. Apparently, said thank you after their romps.
Ghislaine Maxwell said the following morning, well done, the prince had fun.
Yes, it's
I mean, this
so
is
icky,
disgusting, isn't it?
Really horrible.
And we said it before, we can't get too involved, but apparently he's quite depressed about all sorts of things. But you just wonder what happens next, whether the king will cut him off, what the impact will be.
Well,
certainly
yeah, I mean,
will.
obviously he denies all this, but he's still sitting there in Royal Lodge and the king can't get him out.
No.
And so,
also, we reported this morning, I didn't touch upon it, but Hamas reported earlier today, the terrorist organisation, playing sick mind games, allegedly sending the wrong body.
Yes, well, you thought this was all over, the peace ceasefire had happened, etc., but Hamas have had that one last little dig at them. They sent back 4 bodies, except one of them wasn't Israeli, and they're all a bit. They're claiming it was a mistake. But Israel thinks they're playing mind games, and
there's no doubt the cynics are lining up to say Donald Trump got that deal, but what's going to happen further forward? His was a 20-point plan, and there's no doubt there are many difficult, rocky roads ahead. But for me, it was a case of, he got it done. That was it. This is great. Right. Sober jabs. Weight loss jabs take the fun out of drinking by reducing how much alcohol is absorbed by the body.
Very true.
So all the people that are overweight who are taking weight loss jabs, they're having a miserable time.
Exactly,
they can't eat, they can't drink.
Yeah, it's no fun.
Do you know anybody on a weight loss jab?
I suspect there's lots of people downstairs on our news floor.
Do you?
I think they're probably...
Jodie, the floor on up here that's on weight loss jabs. Oh, she's just told. Wow, I can't say that in public. I'm not very keen on this, though. Sorry,
I think he's meddling with things that you probably don't know. They're not very well.
It sort of worries me about what that then means afterwards.
Yeah.
I'm a bit old-fashioned. Jodie laughs at me. I think that what we put into our bodies and the amount we exercised... I mean, those people that go, oh, he were born big bone. No, he wasn't. He's a gluttonous bugger, isn't he? He's eaten too much. Because if he doesn't eat, think of the sorts of people who don't eat, the weight goes.
Yeah,
so that's interesting. Tat's the answer. Barmaid Katie Allen got over her breakup with boyfriend Ryan, who was boring, by transforming a tattoo of his name into that of her favourite airline. Tell me more, please.
I love this. Well, there's been a lot of grim around today.
Yeah.
All the politics, all the Israel, all this stuff with Prince Andrew. But I love this story. So Barmaid has a relationship with a fella called Ryan.
Yeah.
Not maybe next door.
I think it could be Ryan because his wife's left.
Yeah. Oh.
For 5 days. Will she come back? Maybe this is the reason. Tell us more.
Okay. Yeah. So she gets on a hip. Ryan.
Yeah.
Little writing.
Yeah.
Fortunately, her and Ryan don't see it out. They break up.
Yeah.
She then goes on holiday with her family. What's she going to change? She suddenly has a brainwave. I'll change it to the same name as my favourite airline, Ryanair. So she goes back in and gets it.
Well, I've got a story about this, and it's about a presenter on Virgin that I'm not going to name, but years and years ago we worked together, and he had a tattoo, and he'll back me up on this, and it was Anna, and he was completely in love with her, and it all went completely wrong. He'd had a tattoo on his back, and he was crying, and I was my usual helpful self, and I said, you're going to have to find yourself a girlfriend called Hannah or Annabelle, and then you can just have it filled in. I mean, who, by the way... Jode, have you got tattoos of Cameron on your body? No. Do you have any tattoos?
I've got a little Sarge one.
You have got... Sorry, Jodie's got Sarge where? Just above the... No! Ryan, have you got any tattoos? No, right, it's not that. No. Oh, my God. Jodie's got 2 W's on her bottom, apparently. No, I'm joking. That's a great story, and actually, amongst all the misery and the drudgery...
We really needed something like that.
Current